Immortal Cultivation family, I can see the clues. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201, Spirit Ants Show Their Power. In the 3 absolute yellow sand formation, Lin Yi still had a lot of seeds that he hadn't collected. At this moment, many of the seeds were actually crushed by the spiritual power. His brows furrowed even deeper. He raised his hand and cast another extremely complex spiritual spell. The top-grade spiritual shield star wooden shield transformed into its largest form. It was a full 3 feet in size, blocking the yellow sand giant behind him. In front of him, each of them had a set of array swords to block a yellow sand giant. After seeing the 3 yellow sand giants blocked, Lin Yi did not stop. The true essence in the secondary spiritual platform continued to flow out, and the grinding disc also suddenly catalyzed and turned into the size of a small mountain. As the last spiritual spell was cast, the grinding disc began to grind wildly, and the sound of grinding the grinding disc spread everywhere. In front of Su Hao's body, a jade pendant appeared. It was a spiritual consciousness defense magic weapon, which blocked the grinding disc attack. However, the next moment, Lin Yi took out another shocking drum. As the drum sounded, it turned into ripples and went towards Su Hao. Although the shocking god drum is only a top-grade magical instrument and cannot be compared with a grinding god plate, it is more specialized in spiritual consciousness attack. Seeing Su Hao's spiritual shield dimmed a lot, and the next moment, with a cracking blade coming out, the spiritual shield of the guardian god jade pendant was instantly shattered and disappeared. And Su Hao's body also paused suddenly. The speed of activating the talisman was instantly greatly reduced, and the spiritual talisman in the sky was even darker. No one expected that Lin Yi would actually stop Su Hao's talisman from activating through spiritual consciousness sound attack. But the terrible thing is that Su Hao's spiritual consciousness is not much weaker than Lin Yi. If it weren't for the blessing of the shocking god drum, I'm afraid it would be impossible to shake it. I saw him use his hands to hit the spiritual spell again, and the true essence rushed towards the spiritual talisman. The spiritual light of the talisman once again disappeared, and the influence of the spiritual consciousness attack disappeared. It's useless, you can't interrupt me. Su Hao sneered. I saw him raise his hand again, and the spiritual spell in his hand was incredibly fast, and the spiritual power was radiating, and the talisman finally reached the final moment. At this moment, the deacons and referees who were watching all looked pale. He had only completed his foundation building, but he could not withstand this attack. He quickly called Sanran, who was also concentrating and frowning. Under his embroidered robe, his hands had already formed a semi-spiritual state, ready to save Lin Yi at any time. At this time, Lin Yi was trapped by the formation and attacked by the talisman. He had obviously lost the chance to win. He could not interrupt the attack of his spiritual consciousness. With Su Hao's spiritual talisman storage, I am afraid that other attacks would have no chance. In their opinion, Lin Yi simply did not find the talisman and thought he had a chance. Of course, Sanran was still more optimistic about Lin Yi. After all, Su Hao used the talisman in the fight, and he was somewhat relying on his identity. Lin Yi and Xian were also in a panic at this moment. Seeing that the talisman was about to fall, Lin Yi had not yet shouted to admit defeat. But the next moment, a half-human high hole suddenly appeared in the yellow sand formation, revealing 81 soul-devouring ants with ferocious fangs. They went towards Su Hao. What is this? Su Hao was obviously stunned. His 3 absolutes yellow sand formation did not give any feedback to these spirit insects. Su Hao felt uneasy in his heart. He could not understand why these spirit insects could break his 3 absolutes yellow sand formation. However, he did not stop. The 3 spirit talismans that he had prepared long ago were torn off and directly turned into 3 top-grade spirit shields. But the next moment, the spirit-devouring ants almost regarded it as nothing and swallowed up the spirit shield. There was also a hole half a person's height. In sight, a red-haired demon monkey came out of the hole, raised the red flame fire stick and smashed it down, directly knocking Su Hao out of the field. The talisman also stopped abruptly, turned into a spirit talisman, and floated down. Lin Yi walked away from the 3 absolutes yellow sand formation. He was not in a good state at the moment. He took out a middle-grade spirit stone and kept absorbing it to restore his true essence. The foundation building cultivators who were watching at the moment were completely stunned at the moment. They did not expect that at the last moment, it was Lin Shiming who turned defeat into victory. Even the Purple Mansion cultivators were surprised and incredulous. Especially the Purple Mansion cultivators of the Spirit Talisman sect, they even used their spiritual sense to scan Lin Shiming's soul-devouring ants. If they found anything else, they might have to interrogate them. That's the soul-devouring ant. It was Sanai Sanrin who spoke first. Obviously, the soul-devouring ants at this moment were spotted with stars, which made them a little confused. Reply Sanrin, it's right. Lin Shiming nodded at this moment. He naturally knew that his soul-devouring ants were a little different. The name of the soul-devouring ants also made everyone amazed again. Chang Gidan, be careful of this Lin Shiming. Last time at Yunjing Mountain, it was this soul-devouring ant. At this moment, on the observation platform, Yi Mingqiu, who had guarded Yunjing Mountain with Lin Shiming, warned Yi Chang Gidan. He killed 3 mid-stage Foundation Establishment cultivators in the early stage of Foundation Establishment. Yi Mingqiu's eyes were full of fear. Of course, he didn't say a word. At that time, Lu Changming and Lin Shiming did not get along well, and the place where Lu Changming died was burned by flames to remove all traces. The flames were somewhat similar to the fire of the demon monkey in front of him. Thinking of this, Yi Mingqiu was even more afraid of Lin Shiming. He killed Lu Changming, who was in the late stage of foundation building, in the early stage of foundation building. Remember to be extra careful when you meet him. Yi Mingqiu continued to remind Yi Chang Gidan. Yes, Uncle Jiu. It was the first time that Yi Chang Gidan found that his Uncle Jiu was so afraid of someone, and of course he could believe it. Su Hao was regarded as one of his biggest rivals, but now he was defeated by Lin Shiming. The point is that if he was in Lin Shiming's position, he might not be able to break Su Hao's yellow sand formation plus talismans. As Sanai Sanrin announced that Lin Shiming won and entered the semifinals. The monks who were watching were also sighing. They thought that it was a miracle for Lin Shiming to enter the top 8, but they didn't expect that he was only a hair's breadth away from getting the top 2. On the contrary, Su Hao, who was favored by countless people, was eliminated early. The situation became mysterious again. If Su Hao, Chen Yuan, and Yi Chang Gidan were competing for 2 places before, now it became Lin Shiming, Chen Yuan, and Yi Chang Gidan competing for the last place. Lin Shiming won and returned to the viewing platform to rest and recover his true energy. The next game was played by other people. It was not surprising that Yi Chang Gidan, Chen Yuan, and another cultivator from the Spirit Beast sect, Wang Daoxuan, won the remaining 3 places. A new lottery was drawn again, and what Lin Shiming did not expect was that his opponent was the most difficult Chen Yuan again. As a cultivator sent by the Spirit Beast sect, Chen Yuan was basically the strongest. At this moment, Lin Shiming also felt great pressure. But the opportunity for Jidai to realize the truth was right in front of him, and he would not give up. What's more, he still had the poisonous dragon vine, the purple sword, and the golden winged mantis, so he thought he would not lose much. Chapter 202 Tips for Reappearance. The final duel between the top 4 did not start immediately. Not only Lin Shiming, but even Chen Yuan consumed a lot of true energy when fighting against his opponent. Both of them needed to recover, but they were not seriously injured. The final battle was scheduled for the next day. In addition, the other 7 people who had attained enlightenment would also appear during the final battle. Only when 2 people were decided, they would rush to the enlightenment platform. Time was extremely tight. Lin Shiming recuperated for a day. During this period, Lin Haoyan and Xian successively cheered Lin Shiming up. Surprisingly, Zixu and Sanrin also came again to comfort him. In the end, he prepared a 3rd-level top-grade defensive talisman for him again. Lin Shiming also accepted it with great gratitude. After a night of recovery, Lin Shiming finally recovered to his peak. Back to the Colosseum, there were more people watching the battle today. Of course, in addition to watching the final battle between the 4, there were also many cultivators who came to see the cultivators who had attained enlightenment this time. These cultivators are the real geniuses of the 3 sects of Zhao State. When they grow up, they will almost certainly have the Purple Palace Jade Liquid, and they can even be regarded as half-Purple Palace true persons. Among the 7 people recommended, there are 3 from the Spirit Beast sect, 2 from the King Sun sect and the Spirit Talisman sect. However, this time the cultivators of the Spirit Talisman sect did not look good. In the past, there would be at least one cultivator from the Spirit Talisman sect in the top 4 of the competition. This time, they did not expect that Suha would be kicked out by Lin Shiming in advance and became a spectator. While Sanai Sanran was preaching, Lin Shiming and Chen Yuan also went to the beast fighting stage. Chen Yuan was still wearing the beast pattern robe of the Spirit Beast sect. As he came on the stage, he directly released 4 exotic beasts, 2 of which were late-stage 3rd-level spirit beasts, and 2 were mid-stage 3rd-level spirit beasts. Lin Shiming was a little envious. He had a golden-winged mantis and a red-haired demon monkey, so he naturally understood how rare it was to have 4 demon beasts at this level, and the resources consumed were even more massive. Chen Yuan's spirit beasts were also very particular, including 2 3rd-stage late-stage spirit beasts, a golden feathered eagle, a thunder jade rhinoceros, and 2 3rd-stage mid-stage howling moon wolves. There were both flexible and defensive spirit beasts, and each spirit beast was majestic and extraordinary, obviously not ordinary spirit beasts. Seeing this, Lin Shiming also released the red-haired demon monkey and the golden-winged mantis. This time, he did not intend to sneak attack. The sneak attack of the golden-winged mantis would either kill or seriously injure, so it was not suitable to use the Kinglian Doi to sneak attack. Instead, it was better to use it to contain the golden feathered eagle. Mutated 6-winged mantis. Chen Yuan did not expect that Lin Shiming was actually half a beast master, and he also had a 6-winged mantis ranked 89th in the Xiandi leader rush list. Fellow Taoist Lin is not kind. But the next moment, Chen Yuan saw that Lin Shiming did not say a word and was actually injecting spirit into the spirit plant seeds, and he also sneered and spoke. Then the golden feathered eagle behind him rushed out first, followed by the howling moon wolves on the left and right, but the thunder jade rhinoceros stayed in place to protect Chen Yuan. Go. Lin Shiming did not answer. Seeing Chen Yuan take the lead, he ordered the 2 beasts to rush out one after another. There was no psychological burden at all for the matter of infusing spirits. Chen Yuan not only had more spirit beasts than him, but also had a stronger cultivation and a lot of magic weapons. Moreover, Chen Yuan's spiritual consciousness was definitely stronger than his. He did not believe that the other party did not have the method to train spiritual consciousness for the spiritual beast sect cultivators, so he naturally did not dare to have any reservations. At the same time as the golden-winged mantis flew out, the red-haired demon monkey also roared and rushed out. The golden-winged mantis faced the golden-feathered eagle, and the red-haired demon monkey smashed towards the 2 howling moon wolves. Surprisingly, the speed of the golden-winged mantis was not inferior to that of the golden-feathered eagle. In addition, there were 2 extremely sharp sickle feet, which cut out golden light one after another in the air. The golden-feathered eagle was somewhat restrained and kept shouting in anger. It only felt pulled from a distance, but did not dare to rush forward and grab the golden-winged mantis with its claws. The red-haired demon monkey, on the other hand, was under great pressure in the face of the 2 wolf kings. He held the red flame fire stick and hit the howling moon wolf from time to time, while constantly throwing the Zuanling mountain in his hand. However, the 2 howling moon wolves dodged it, and it relied on the strange fire to burn the red flame fire stick, which made the situation less bleak, but it was obviously suppressed by the 2 howling moon wolves. As for the thunder jade rhino, its horn flashed violently, and then thunders hit Lin Shiming from the air. The starwood shield was immediately deployed, and the thunder struck the wooden shield, and the starlight retreated, stirring up bursts of green smoke. At the same time, Lin Shiming's array swords also slashed in the air. This time, there were 4 small purplewood Zuanshan sword arrays. At this moment, many cultivators of the Qingxuan sect were a little stunned. They naturally knew about the purplewood Zuanshan sword array, and many cultivators had practiced it, but other people's sword arrays could not only not exceed their own ranks, but also had fewer than Lin Shiming. Even the distant Zixuan Sanran had his eyes flickering. Seeing this, Lin Shiming felt somewhat helpless. If he concealed his weakness in the sword formation, he would inevitably fail. At this time, he could only hope that Zixuan Sanran would not hold him accountable for his previous concealment. As soon as the 4 sword formations came out, Chen Yuan also took out 5 copper ring magic tools. Each copper ring was embroidered with strange animal patterns. As the 5 copper rings rushed out, they transformed into 5 beast spirits and rushed towards Lin Shiming. These 5 copper rings were obviously a set of top-grade magic tools. Each copper ring was a top-grade magic tool. After a set, the spiritual power was greatly increased. Lin Shiming was unable to do anything with the 4 sword formations, so he had to take out the Zile sword again. The Zile sword rose high in the wind, like a purple sun, and the sword energy was unparalleled. The spiritual power of the top-grade magic sword was also stimulated to the extreme, and the copper ring was once again pressed to the disadvantage. Then his other hand suddenly pinched the seal, and the seeds that had been scattered at some point began to catalyze instantly. Countless purple gold vines rushed out and tied up the 2 howling moon wolves. At this moment, Chen Yuan had never thought that Lin Shiming would attack the 2 howling moon wolves. None of them escaped. The red-haired demon monkey instantly became fierce and powerful. The red flame fire stick in his hand was instantly covered by strange fire. It had been suppressed for a whole game and was already furious. The next moment, Chen Yuan jumped up again and reached the Thunder Jade Rhino. He saw countless golden spirit spears rushing out from his position and instantly submerged his position. The surface of the Jade Rhino once again aroused a layer of spirit cover. At the same time, Chen Yuan also tore off a spirit talisman to form a blue water shield to block the golden spirit spear. This series of attacks were between electric sparks and flints, one after another, and Chen Yuan was a little overwhelmed. Chen Yuan frowned slightly, and the next moment, he took out a set of 12 silver needles. This set of silver needles did not hide the attack, and he could not hide it. He was suppressed everywhere. At this moment, he had to break the deadlock. The most important thing was that he felt that Lin Shiming's hands were infusing spirits again. This time, the seeds were infused with spirits for a longer time, which also meant that they were more powerful. It was the poisonous dragon vine seeds. But the next moment, Lin Shiming's system prompt suddenly sounded, "Be careful to face the sneak attack of the demon sect monks after winning." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203, Surrender. At this moment, Lin Shiming was obviously a little stunned. The system prompt was actually a sneak attack by the demon sect. This is Jilai City, and Jilai Mountain whereby Shanzhenren is. It is also the second largest base of the Spirit Beast sect. There was actually a sneak attack by the demon sect here. If anyone told him this, he would not believe it at all. But now it is the system, and the system prompts have never been wrong so far. Lin Shiming did not dare to gamble. Compared to being buried in it, he would rather not have the opportunity to realize the truth. He has a system prompt, which is far more powerful than realizing the truth. There is no need to take risks for realizing the truth, and this feeling of making all his strength public makes him extremely uneasy. Lin Shiming took a deep breath and looked around with his spiritual sense. He still did not find anything unusual, but because of this, he felt the more terrible the matter was. He didn't know if those purple mansions Senran knew it, and he didn't know if those Jindans Henren knew it. But at this moment, for him, there is no doubt that he can't take risks, even if the purple mansion Senran is watching. Moreover, from another perspective, he was too high profile this time. For an ordinary cultivator from a foundation building family, fighting in the late stage of the mid-stage of foundation building, he would probably become a thorn in the eyes of many cultivators. In addition, the treasures on him would probably be coveted by the purple mansion cultivators. While Lin Shiming was hesitating, 12 silver needles flew over. Those silver needles were extremely fast and carried the terrifying power of Ice Spirit. Lin Shiming's purple gold vine wanted to block them, but was frozen by the Ice Spirit, and its growth was greatly reduced. 12 silver needles flew onto the Starwood Shield, and the Starwood Shield, which had been bombarded by the Thunder Jade Rhino, suddenly began to dim. Another thunder fell and directly blew up the Starwood Shield. At the same time, Lin Shiming also spit out a mouthful of blood. The spiritual shield was seriously damaged, and it would definitely need a third-level weapon refiner to repair it afterwards. The 4 sword formations confronting each other in the air were on the verge of collapse. The next moment, with a violent flipping of the copper ring, the sword formations disintegrated with a bang, and turned into a series of sword formations flying back. As a result, the 12 spiritual needles and 5 copper rings attacked Lin Shiming like they were in an empty space. Lin Shiming tore off 4 spiritual talismans, 2 of which were top-grade defensive spiritual talismans and 2 of which were top-grade spiritual talismans. However, Chen Yuan's 2 killer moves shattered the 4 spiritual shields one by one. The next moment, Lin Shiming's body was also exaggeratedly twisted. The 12 spiritual needles were originally shot at the position of the heart, but they just deviated and finally pierced Lin Shiming's left arm. For a while, blood flowed. Insufficient true energy. Admit defeat. Lin Shiming was unwilling, clenched his fists and had to admit defeat, then half knelt on the ground and breathed heavily. A destroyed middle-grade spiritual stone appeared in his hand, and the remaining right arm slammed the ground. Lost. Lin Shiming was just a little bit away, but he still lost in the end. Many people felt very sorry. Lin Shiming had obviously suppressed it just now. That series of attacks, many late-stage foundation-building cultivators on the field could not guarantee that they could block it. Unexpectedly, Chen Yuan not only noticed Lin Shiming's sneak attack, but also controlled 2 sets of top-grade magic tools in a row, one of which was a set of top-grade copper rings and the other was a set of top-grade ice spirit magic needles. The two, together with the thunder bombardment of the Thunder Jade Rhino, exhausted Lin Shiming's true essence in one. Lin Yi was also a little disappointed at this moment. It was just a little bit short. If Lin Shiming was also in the late stage of foundation building, he would not have lost it all. It's just a pity that the Lin family is only a foundation building family after all, and there is no destiny of enlightenment. While thinking, Zian also sighed, and together with Lin Haoyun, he helped Lin Shiming back. Shiming, it's okay, it's just that the draw was not good. You are still young, come again next time. Both of them comforted Lin Shiming. Lin Shiming is only 42 years old this year, very young, and can even participate in the next 9 Leaves conference. Lin Shiming was naturally touched by the kindness of the two, and at the same time, he sent a message to them. 7th uncle, my mantis sent me a very dangerous signal, let's move back a little. Seeing this, Lin Yi also looked serious. Lin Shiming's mantis could predict danger, and he knew it several times before. After saying something to Zian, the two walked to the back of the viewing platform again, trying to get closer to the outer perimeter of the fighting arena. Next, Yi Changgigan fought against another disciple of the Spirit Beast sect, Wang Daoxuan. After the Spirit Beast sect got a place, they all smiled and talked. In front of the Lingfu sect and Kingxuan sect, they behaved more generously and showed the style of the host. Lin Shiming landed on the viewing platform and couldn't help looking around. He first looked at Zixuan Sanrun, but found that the latter was observing Yi Changgigan at the moment, so he was relieved. Zixuan Sanrun soon noticed Lin Shiming's gaze and turned his head, and Lin Shiming also lowered his head with a face full of shame. Of course, at this moment, he was greatly relieved in his heart. Although he had no chance to realize the truth, he finally got out of this 9 Leaves Enlightenment conference. He couldn't help but look at other people again, but he didn't find anything. Instead, he found that Chen Yuan was constantly looking at him. Obviously, he didn't understand why Lin Shiming obviously catalyzed a very powerful seed, but in the end, he lacked true essence and failed. Lin Shiming didn't pay too much attention to Chen Yuan's curiosity, and continued to watch Yi Changgigan and Wang Daoxuan's battle. Yi Changgigan was a sword cultivator, full of sword intent, and even his 7th uncle Lin Yi's sword-like transformation realm was not far away. The magic weapon in his hand was obviously also a top-grade magic sword, with extraordinary power, not much less than his purple sword. His sword cultivation made his grass sword art a little touched, and the sword seed in his heart seemed to be stimulated, wanting to break the seed and fight. Seeing this, Lin Shiming suppressed his true essence again and again, and then he got better and continued to check the situation. However, to everyone's surprise, Wang Daoxuan turned out to be a physical cultivator who had reached the great perfection of foundation building. The 3 spirit beasts he summoned were just a cover, and they were not as strong as his physical cultivators. Physical cultivators who had reached the great perfection of foundation building under the age of 60 were rare in the 3 sects of Zhao state. At this moment, not to mention other sects, even the spirit beast sect itself was greatly puzzled. At the last moment, Yi Changgigan was 1 step behind, and was hit by Wang Daoxuan's close-range punch, knocking him off the beast fighting stage and seriously injured. If it weren't for the last 3 moments, Sanai Sanrin took action and relieved some of the force, Yi Changgigan would have been seriously injured. So far, Wang Daoxuan and Chen Yuan have obtained the remaining 2 places for the 9-Leaf Enlightenment platform, which also allows the entire Spirit Beast sect to have 5 places. The result of the 9-Leaf conference was also beyond everyone's imagination. The cultivators of the Qingxuan sect and the Lingfu sect were not looking very good at this moment, but fortunately, the two sects still had 2 places each. After the meeting, the 9 people who finally won the chance to attain enlightenment walked onto the stage together, and were awarded the Enlightenment Order by Sanai Sanren. Only those who possessed the Enlightenment Order made by Beishan's Henren could be protected from the attacks of the Beishan Wood Demon on the stage. However, at this moment, Wang Daoxuan, who was looking down, suddenly looked at Chen Yuan next to him. Chapter 204 The Devil's Arrival. What are you doing? Sanai Sanren suddenly shouted angrily, but it was already over. As a physical cultivator who had reached the great perfection of foundation establishment, facing Chen Yuan who was close at hand, he almost grabbed it and reached in, and it had already passed through Chen Yuan's chest. In the latter's incredible eyes, he took it back fiercely. Then he put it into the storage bag as if it were a trophy. How dare you? Sanai Sanren was furious. However, just as he was about to take action, the 3 referee deacons beside him suddenly began to emit black smoke all over their bodies. The next moment, the spiritual power was released, and 3 purple mansion palms suddenly attacked Sanai Sanren. After Wang Daoxuan killed Chen Yuan, he still went towards the other 7 enlightened monks. With a crisp sound, his body seemed to be unlocked, and then the cultivation level of the purple mansion physical cultivator was heard, and the other 7 people were instantly terrified. They took out precious talismans one after another, and even one of the monks from the talisman sect took out a set of 10 third-level top-grade talismans. However, in front of the purple palace body cultivator's claws, it was as fragile as a bubble. 2 Lingfu sect monks died on the spot, while the Qingxuan sect monks took out a golden tripod. The claws grabbed the golden tripod, and only felt a terrifying knocking sound, and the claws flew back, and the 2 Qingxuan sect monks also retreated quickly in fear. Magic weapon. Wang Daoxuan's eyes were a little gloomy, and he didn't expect that the 2 Qingxuan sect monks in front of him would directly take out the magic weapon. Although the foundation building monks can't use magic weapons, it doesn't affect the hardness of magic weapons. Wang Daoxuan had to grab the 3 Ling Xiao sect monks next to him. On the distant viewing pavilion, the purple palace monks reacted at this moment, and rushed up one after another, rushing towards the 4 purple palace monks on the field. In the foundation building viewing platform, the front few foundation building monks suddenly emitted black smoke like the previous referee deacon, and a few of them took out 3 coffins, and 3 purple palace monks who were magic cultivators appeared in the coffins. At one time, 10 purple mansion monks from the heavenly demon sect and the corpse training sect gathered together and attacked the purple mansion monk on the viewing pavilion. You are not Wang Daoxuan, you are Qianmo Sanren. Sanai Sanren was fighting 3 people at this moment. Although he was not at a disadvantage, he could not break through for a while. At this moment, he saw that there were only 5 people left out of the 9 enlightened people. He felt extremely painful and had to roar, hoping that Qianmo Sanren would let go of the remaining few. Especially the 3 people from the Spirit Beast sect, one of whom was a Thunder Spiritual Root monk. As expected, the Thunder Spiritual Root monk Lei Daoan also suddenly launched the Thunder Secret Method and formed a lightning cage. It hit Qianmo Sanren, causing Qianmo Sanren's body to stagnate. The restraint of the Thunder Team's demon cultivators was really great, especially this Thunder Spiritual Root monk, who also practiced the secret method. On the contrary, Qianmo Sanren was not an ordinary purple mansion monk. He was extremely angry and rushed towards Lei Daoan. Lei Daoan instantly began to use the Thunder Escape technique, which was more advanced than the 5 elements escape technique. He left a streak of lightning in the original place. However, Qianmo Sanren sneered and turned into a cloud of blood mist. The next moment, he was next to Lei Daoan. Boom! As the claws grabbed in, Lei Daoan was also killed on the spot. The situation happened too quickly. At this moment, the foundation building cultivators on the viewing platform reacted. They were attacked in Jinhui City. Not to mention Lin Shiming and others, even Sanai Sanren and others obviously did not believe it. But the sudden appearance of 10 purple palaces of the demon sect almost broke everyone's cognition. There were only 4 left of the 8 enlightenment seed cultivators, and the remaining 4 were also in danger. This time, the people of the heavenly demon sect lurked in, obviously to kill the purple palace seeds of the 3 major sects and the powerful army of the future sect. The scene was so shocking that the foundation building cultivators had to release the formation, But in front of the Purple Palace cultivators, they were like children and were not worth watching at all. The city defense formation of Jai City also began to slowly open, and from the top of Jai Mountain, 4 terrifying auras appeared at this moment, and 4 figures came towards this side at a terrifying speed. It was Xian Xiao's Henren, Beishan's Henren, Xianjian's Henren, and Qianfu's Henren, the 4 great Henren who came together. The spiritual power was extremely terrifying, and even the residual power made Lin Shiming and others breathless and unable to move. Not to mention the demon sect purple mansions such as Qianmo Sanren on the stage. The battle to defend the city was about to end, but at this moment, a door suddenly appeared in the sky, and a huge dead body crawled out of the door. The next moment, it fell on the city defense formation and tore the formation that had not yet been completely merged. The door was still open, and the first dead body came out, followed by the second dead body. Dead corpse Henren, how brave! Xian Xiao's Henren shouted angrily. Being sneaked in and attacked by the high-level leaders of the Xianmo sect also made them extremely angry. 4 golden elixirs went towards the 2 dead bodies. They wanted to kill these 2 dead bodies in the golden elixir stage in advance. At the same time, at some unknown time, 2 Xianmo sect Jinden and 2 Lianxi sect Jinden also arrived outside the city. At a terrifying speed, they arrived at the mountainside of Jai Mountain in almost a blink of an eye. The melee of the Jinden period began in the blink of an eye, and the fight was so fierce that the sky collapsed and the earth cracked in an instant. At this time, on the side of the Purple Mansion cultivators, Qianmo Sanren once again killed a seed enlightenment cultivator of the Qingxuan sect. Finally, Sanai Sanren found an opportunity to rush out to stop him, and the 2 Purple Mansion late-stage cultivators wrestled together in an instant. The 3 Purple Mansions that were originally besieged were killed by the angry sword of Zixuan Elder. If it weren't for the remaining Jinshi Sanren who held Zixuan's sword, the 3 sects of Zhao State would have been much easier. Lin Shiming hid behind and was afraid for a while, looking at the only 3 seed enlightenment cultivators left. If she won, her fate would definitely not be better than the other 5. At the moment, he was considered to have escaped a disaster, but he was puzzled as to why the Heavenly Demon Sect and the Corpse Training Sect attacked Jai City. Although the benefits were great, the danger was also great. If Jai City had 5 Jinden cultivators, or an unusually large number of Purple Mansion cultivators, then the cultivators from the Demon Sect who came would almost all be sent to deliver food. In Lin Shiming's shock, a giant tree emerged from the soil on the top of Jai Mountain and took root in the clouds, and its terrifying power instantly spread throughout the Jai Mountain. Masturbation Wood Demon has moved. The cultivators of the Spirit Beast sect were all overjoyed. Following the gazes of the crowd, countless wood vines flew out of the sky. If Lin Shiming's wood vines were lakes and forests, then the branches of the wood vines at this moment were like a surging tsunami, densely packed, with branches that could not be seen at a glance, rushing towards the cultivators of the Heavenly Demon Sect. And these branches, with all kinds of true essence spells, there were sword vines, knife vines, and spear vines, which transformed into various magic weapons. The remaining 9 Purple Mansion monks of the Heavenly Demon Sect fell into disadvantage in an instant. They could not make any waves under the white fur wood monster. However, at this moment, Jinmo Sanren suddenly threw out 5 tokens, which were the Enlightenment tokens. The stuck part has been modified, just refresh it. Chapter 205, Golden Core Falls. With the 5 Enlightenment orders, the surging branches faded away in the blink of an eye, just like the melting winter snow. 5 vine vacuum zones appeared abruptly, which made the demon cultivators on Qianmo Sanren's side breathe a sigh of relief. These Enlightenment orders were made by Beishan's Henren, one to prevent the Purple Mansion wood monster from hurting people, and the other to allow several Enlightenment seed cultivators to get closer to the Beishan spirit tree. How dare you! Sanai Sanren shouted angrily, and a 3-leaf clover flywheel magic weapon flew out of his hand again. The 3-leaf flywheel separated in the air and formed 3 flywheels, which surrounded Qianmo Sanren. Your 9-leaf spirit tree is really a tree that absorbs the Tao. Qianmo Sanren said disdainfully, and then told a fact that made everyone panic. There are so many geniuses in the 3 sects of Zhao State, why are there more people from your Spirit Beast sect who have comprehended minor supernatural powers? Don't you have any doubts about the other 2 sects? Qianmo Sanren laughed to his heart's content. The Purple Mansion monks of the Lingfu sect and Qingxuan sect all paused, obviously not wanting to fight. The white fur spirit tree also had this saying, and the foundation-building monks who were passing by in the distance set off an uproar. The enlightenment tree turned out to be a Tao-absorbing tree, and it absorbed the Tao of the genius disciples of various sects. The faces of the Zhao State Spirit Beast sect monks all changed drastically, especially the three-leaf wanderer, whose three-leaf flywheel magic weapon had an even more intense spiritual power. 1 turned into 3, 3 turned into 9, and 9 turned into thousands. In an instant, the entire void was filled with three-leaf clover flywheels, and the thousand demon wanderer had nowhere to hide. He could only use his powerful physical body to resist, and at this moment, the thousand demon wanderer shouted loudly, and his body suddenly rose like a monkey, and he directly turned into a huge 6-armed demon ape. At this moment, the thousand demon wanderer was like a purgatory demon god, with strange spiritual patterns all over his body, and powerful spiritual power, approaching the great perfection of the Purple Mansion. Each of the 6 arms had a huge black stick magic weapon, and they danced out 6 whirlwind stick formations, knocking all the flywheels away. The resulting sound was so deafening that the monks watching the battle felt deafening. Sanai Sanrin immediately fell into disadvantage, and it was only when Zixuan Sanrin came on a sword that he managed to stabilize the situation. At this moment, in the distance of Jai City, it suddenly became dark and black magic fog continued to cover it. What kept flashing was the rising sky demon banner and the fierce corpses. Obviously, the army of the Cheyenne Mo sect and the corpse sect had arrived. Cheyenne Hazhao was occupied, and this time the corpses were obviously more numerous and more brutal, especially when thinking of the self-destructing corpses that broke the Cheyenne Hazhao formation. The monks of the 3 sects of Jai City were even more frightened. All the monks in Jai City began to panic. Now the 2 golden elixir corpses were stuck in the mountain guarding formation and could not close. If all the monks of the Cheyenne Mo sect came to crush them, they might not be able to withstand it for even 3 days. All foundation building cultivators and key training cultivators, go to the city walls and keep the enemy out. A newly promoted Purple Mansion of the Spirit Beast sect roared at this moment. All Purple Mansions were trying their best to kill the demon cultivators, and only he could issue orders. Lin Shiming and other foundation-building cultivators who were watching the battle also went to the city wall. However, their eyes were all focused on Jai Mountain. If Jai Mountain was breached, no matter how they resisted, it would be useless. But what Lin Shiming found strange was that Jai City was too easy to conquer. It was understandable that the Purple Mansion cultivators of the 3 major sects did not react, but why did those Jindans Henrin not warn them? This was what Lin Shiming did not understand. Of course, although he was puzzled, they were now facing the attacks of the Heavenly Demon sect and the Corpse Training sect. When the Purple Mansion cultivators did not show signs of collapse, none of them, the foundation-building cultivators, dared to run away, unless they did not want to continue staying in the Zhao Kingdom's Immortal Cultivation world. There were many foundation-building cultivators watching the competition, and Lin Shiming and the other 2 were among them. However, when they were retreating, an accident happened again. A terrifying explosion sounded from the top of the Jai Mountain, and the enlightenment tree in the sky suddenly shrank. An old tree face emerged, with a trace of crying on it. Then the entire tree trunk, which was rooted in the void, began to withdraw from the clouds and flew towards the top of Jai Mountain. Lin Shiming and others' spiritual consciousness probed to the top of Jai Mountain, and saw that at some point, 2 Cheyenne Mo sect cultivators in the late Purple Mansion had already touched the body of the White Fir Spirit Tree. At the top of the Enlightenment platform, they were obviously digging out the body of the White Fir Spirit Tree. However, with the return of the White Fir Spirit Tree, the entire mountaintop once again became a sea of White Fir Spirit Tree branches, and at this moment, countless roots protruded from the ground, transformed into man-eating pythons, and headed towards the 2 late Purple Mansion demon cultivators. The 2 demon cultivators took out the Heavenly Demon banner, and countless demon pictures rushed out, and there were even 2 peak Purple Mansion demon heads. However, for a while, they still couldn't do anything to the White Fir Spirit Tree. There were more and more tree roots, and the various Taoist arts that appeared were becoming more and more terrifying. At this moment, the spiritual tree of enlightenment in everyone's eyes turned into a terrifying Purple Mansion peak wood demon. The 2 Purple Mansion late-stage demon cultivators couldn't even resist for a stick of incense, and were pierced through the body on the spot. Only one of them escaped by blood escape. The power of the White Fir Spirit Tree made Jin Mo San Ren's face change. However, what was even more terrifying was that in the battlefield of the giant and cultivators, at some point, The Divine Machine Master appeared, and a Divine Machine Tower suddenly sat down, covering the dead Corpse Master. At the same time, two giant sword cultivators appeared again, and the two swords went towards the dead Corpse Master. "Why are you here, Divine Machine Master, and the Zuanming two swords of the Wanjian sect, why are you here?" The dead Corpse Master couldn't believe it at all, and quickly blew up the two giant dead corpses. They had left the Divine Machine Tower, which was the first magic weapon of the Kingsuan sect. If it was taken in by the Divine Machine Tower, I'm afraid the first giant and master of the two countries would have fallen today. The explosion of the two dead corpses forced Kushi Sanran to retreat. He was shocked and angry at the moment, but he managed to dodge. A giant Henren from the Xianmo sect next to him was not so lucky. He was covered by the Shenji Tower in the blink of an eye. As Xianjian's Henren, Zuanjian's Henren, and Mingjian's Henren drew their swords together, they immediately killed a giant's Henren from the Xianmo sect. The scene instantly became a situation where 7 giant cultivators from the 3 sects of Zhao State plus the Wanjian sect of Qi State faced 3 giant cultivators from the Lianxi sect of the Xianmo sect. Escape! The 3 giants Henren shouted almost at the same time, all turned into blood mist, and fled away in blood. At the same time, the 7 giants Henren also chased out instantly. On the Jai Mountain, a group of cultivators wearing Wanjian robes appeared again. They were the cultivators of the Wanjian sect. From the northern city area next to Jai Mountain, several Zifu cultivators emerged again and surrounded Qianmo Sanran and other cultivators from the demon sect. Qianmo Sanran was also in shock at this moment. They had never expected that this was the boxing gloves of the Spirit Beast sect, and they were intended to attack the top leaders of the Heavenly Demon sect and the Corpse Training sect. After a battle, of the dozen Purple Mansion cultivators who had sneaked into Jai Mountain, only Qianmo Sanran was left. He rushed out abruptly, leaving behind the corpses of a dozen Purple Mansion Sanran. Lin Shiming and others in the distance were also a little surprised and even more pleasantly surprised. Once the 3 sects and the 10,000 sword sect joined forces, plus this heavy blow, the 2 sects would not be able to continue attacking the 2 sects. Chapter 206 Another Spot. The changes in the scene were not limited to the great victory of the Purple Mansion and giant cultivators. Before the surrounding magic fog could attack the city wall, the entire Jai Mountain City Defense Formation was immediately activated. The huge spiritual cover not only protected Jai City, but also became a terrifying 10-direction heavenly thunder formation. The entire sky was covered with dark clouds in the blink of an eye, and countless lightning flashed in it, making a dull rumbling sound. One after another, lightning struck, and the first to bombard the towering heavenly demon banners. Every time a thunderbolt fell, a heavenly demon banner exploded, and only a few heavenly demon banner magic weapons were spared. Suddenly, a flute sounded in the sky, and the sound of the flute was extremely pleasant. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound, but they saw a Purple Mansion female cultivator in a green skirt, holding a jade flute and blowing it slowly. The sound of the flute had no attack power, but countless beast sounds came like a landslide and tsunami. Countless spirit beasts began to appear from Jai Mountain, as if there was a huge hole in the mountain, and the spirit beasts poured out and rushed out of the city. The magic fog was dispersed by the thunder, and the demon banners were destroyed one by one. A large number of foundation building and key training demon cultivators were killed by the thunder and lightning of spirit beasts before they had time to break through the city wall and enjoy a new round of results. The monks of the 3 sects who were originally guarding the city wall also went out of the city to attack. This time it will be a big victory. 7th uncle, senior brother, let's go too. Lin Shiming looked at the decline of the demon sect and the corpse training sect outside the city wall, and he immediately became interested. At this time, the demon sect cultivator was not the terrifying cultivator before, but a human storage bag. The 3 nodded in unison and headed out of the city. At this moment, Lin Shiming was not worried about the Purple Mansion cultivators or the Perfect Foundation cultivators who would attack him secretly, because those powerful demon cultivators would not stay behind and would have already run away without a trace. On the entire battlefield, there were only blood mists and escape lights. At this moment, blood escape was the fastest, followed by various 5-element escape techniques and escape talismans. The cultivators who did not have escape techniques or were interrupted could only die on the spot under the attack of the 3 people. One by one, the Foundation cultivators died in their pursuit. This battle lasted for a whole day. During the pursuit, Lin Shiming killed a total of 10 Demon Sect Foundation cultivators, including 3 late Foundation cultivators and 7 mid-Foundation cultivators. He gained a lot. Although he did not get any powerful magic tools, he got a lot of 3rd grade low grade and 3rd grade middle grade magic tools, and also got a lot of spirit stones. Lin Yi and Xian also got something. When the Purple Mansion monks of the 3 sects returned, they told everyone that this time, they killed 2 Jindans Henren, one from the Lianxi sect and one from the Xianmo sect. The great victory of the 3 sects also made the whole Jiwai city cheer. In Liao Tower, the ancient wooden window opened, and Lin Shiming looked through the window at the whole Jiwai city. After the 10 directions heavenly thunder formation, it was a continuous rainy period, which not only washed away the bloodstains left by the battle, but also made the whole Jiwai city look brand new again, with a green everywhere, which made people feel relaxed and happy. Looking at Jiwai Mountain again, the huge white fir tree was still emitting spiritual light as before, and the 9 enlightenment platforms were vaguely visible. Lin Shiming recalled the enlightenment platform and was somewhat fortunate that he did not defeat Chen Yuan that day, otherwise he would not believe that he would be one of the only 2 enlightenment seeds left. The layout of this battle was only known by the Jindans Henren, even the Purple Mansion Sanrun, all kept in the dark. Of course, he was the only one who knew about his defeat this time. Even Xian and Lin Xianzi thought that his true essence was really exhausted and he was no match for Chen Yuan. Moreover, Lin Shiming also recalled the words of the 1,000 demons that day, and the final great power of the white fir spirit tree. It was probably that the spirit tree really had the ability to absorb the Dao. Otherwise the Spirit Beast sect would not have allowed the other 2 sects cultivators to participate, or even the foundation building family, but should have kept it hidden. However, this matter was said by a demon sect cultivator, and everyone still held a skeptical attitude. As for verifying it, except for the Qingxuan sect's Shenji's Henren, Xianjian's Henren, and the Lingfu sect's Xianfu's Henren, the rest of the people were not qualified to verify it. The white fir spirit tree was the treasure tree of the white fir's Henren. Lin Shiming shook his head and stopped thinking about the white fir spirit tree. Instead, he missed Fangmu Mountain a little. The peach blossoms on the mountain are blooming again at this moment. Lin Shiming murmured softly. At present, the joining of Wanjian sect also announced the joining of Qi Wanjian sect, and the battle between Zhao state, Chu state Xianmo sect, and Yan state Lianxi sect has also become a foregone conclusion. Basically, there will be no other suspense, and their return date can basically be predicted. He left the mountain at the age of 35, and now he is 42 years old. In the blink of an eye, another 7 years have passed. Shiming, come and discuss matters. With a voice transmission, Lin Shiming also closed the window and came to Lin Xianzi's room next door. At this moment, Lin Haoyuan was also there, and the expressions on their faces were extremely relaxed. Shiming, the war is over, and several Jindans Henren have negotiated. Lin Xianzi said happily. Although Lin Shiming expected the war to end, he did not expect it to end so quickly. The Spirit Beast sect marked out half of Xian Hezhao, and the Spirit Talisman sect marked out half of Yao Xiao. Lin Xianzi continued. Hearing this, Lin Shiming understood that the Xianmo sect and the Lianxi sect had joined forces. Each of these 2 sects had 10 Jindan cultivators. Although one of them was killed, they were still a force that should not be underestimated. This time, it was obviously the appearance of the Wanjian sect. At the same time, the old man Shenji broke through and became the only Jindan Great Perfection cultivator among the 3 sects. With the help of the Shenji Tower, any ordinary Jindan cultivator could be killed. In addition, Shiming, the Enlightenment Conference will continue. Because too many Enlightenment seeds died, Yuan Yi Changgian were both selected. Lin Xianzi's words again shocked Lin Shiming. He didn't expect that he would still have a place in the Enlightenment. However, Lin Shiming's eyes were still not very happy. Seeing this, Lin Xianzi also smiled lightly and added again, Shiming, don't be fooled by Qianmo Sanrun. This time, Shenji's Henren has spoken personally. The white fir tree only has the spiritual power of participating in the Tao, but not the ability to absorb the Tao. When the cultivators comprehend, they will also leave a portion to the tree, so that the Enlightenment platform will become bigger and more. Lin Shiming's brows relaxed. Shenji's Henren is not a member of the Spirit Beast sect, so he will naturally not lie to them. Shiming, the Enlightenment will start in a month. 10 days later, there will be a large auction. Only the lowest foundation building cultivators can participate. At that time, even the Purple Palace Jade liquid will be auctioned. Lin Shiming was still in surprise, but he only heard Lin Hao speak excitedly. This kind of large auction, even if you can't buy the Purple Palace Jade liquid that breaks through the Purple Palace, you can still see other treasures. This opportunity is extremely rare. Chapter 207 Wood Spirit Liquid. The news of the auction and the Enlightenment Conference both made Lin Shiming feel a little excited. In this war, he took the opportunity to obtain a lot of spiritual stones. Excluding the ones used to buy the Red Flame Fire Stick, and not counting the high-grade spiritual stones, there are still 3.5 million low-grade spiritual stones, enough to buy some treasures and magic tools at the auction. Of course, as the head of the Lin family, he also needs to take out some spiritual stones to give to the monks who died for the family this time. In addition, he also needs to buy some spiritual objects or spiritual plants that are useful to the family. After the war, it is the best period of stable development. In general, 3 million spiritual stones are enough. Shiming, this is the dragon blood pill that Xian asked someone to send, a total of 4. Lin Xianxi suddenly took out another jade bottle, and there were 4 dragon blood pills in the jade bottle. Lin Shiming opened the bottle cap and saw an astonishing blood rushing out, which made the monk's blood boil as soon as they inhaled. His face was instantly filled with surprise. The effect of this dragon blood pill was more than twice that of the dragon lizard's blood essence. It was obvious that in addition to the dragon lizard's blood essence in blood and flesh, there were other elixirs in it. And Xian really gave all the rest to him except for one he kept for himself. 7th uncle, with this dragon blood pill, my second uncle will have a chance to break through the foundation. Lin Shiming couldn't help but speak excitedly. After speaking, he took out 2 more dragon blood pills for himself, and handed the remaining 2 to Lin Xianxi again. 7th uncle, you should also keep 2 of these dragon blood pills. They should be of great use to your body. You are the one in our Lin family who has the greatest hope of breaking through the Purple Mansion now. Lin Xianxi waved his hand, sighed, and did not take the dragon blood pill. 7th uncle, even if you want to participate in the trip to the Zhuanpan secret realm in 5 years, you will need enough blood and qi. At that time, Shiming will need your help to obtain the elixir of Zifu Yui. When Lin Xianxi heard this, his eyes changed for a moment, and finally he made up his mind. He took out a dragon blood pill from the pill bottle and accepted it. Then he looked at Lin Shiming with eyes that could not be refused, and asked Lin Shiming to accept the remaining pill. It is enough to take 1 pill, and leave the rest to the elders of the family. After walking out of Lin Xianxi's room, he went to Lin Haoxiao's room. Lin Haoxiao was still studying the formation, and it was a 3rd level formation. Although his cultivation stopped at the 9th level of key training and he could not arrange the 3rd level formation alone, Lin Haoxiao had been studying it. The family could use the formation to refine the 3rd level elixir, and in his opinion, they could also use key training monks to arrange the 3rd level formation. 2nd uncle. Shiming, sit down. Lin Haoxiao put away the jade slip, took out a teapot, spread it on the mahogany table in the room, and brewed spiritual tea for Lin Shiming. 2nd uncle, this is the refined dragon blood pill. You can prepare enough spiritual stones to auction the foundation pill. Lin Shiming took out the pill bottle and put it on the table. Lin Haoxiao's body shook violently, and then he picked up the pill bottle, excited beyond words. As early as 20 years ago, he had turned from disappointment to despair. Who among the immortal cultivators does not yearn for immortality, and who among the key training cultivators does not envy the foundation? If the family did not need him, if the family did not need a formation master, perhaps, one day after breaking through the 9th level of key training, he would also find a feng shui treasure land and take the path of foundation building. Whether he succeeds or not, at least he will have no regrets in his life. But now that he has the dragon blood pill, he has great hope of building a foundation at the age of 80. In an instant, Lin Haoxiao couldn't help crying. Lin Shiming put down the dragon blood pill and left Lin Haoxiao's room. Back in the room, Lin Shiming continued to practice the god-splitting technique. Now that he has more and more magic tools, his need for divine consciousness is also greater, especially the trip to the Zhuanpan secret realm 5 years later. He can no longer relax. Whether it is to seize the magic elixir of Zifu Jade liquid or to seize the sword for Zifu Sanrun, it requires great strength. As a result, his original budget for learning to refine tools had to be delayed again. In the past 5 years, He planned to practice the mountain ape body refining technique and the god-splitting technique wholeheartedly. With a fierce cut of the god-splitting blade, even though Lin Shiming had practiced it countless times, he couldn't help but stagger, endure the severe pain, and grit his teeth. 10 days passed again, and the auction finally arrived. It was the first time that all the people in the Lin family came out of retreat, heading towards the Jidai City commercial street. Although only foundation building cultivators can participate in the auction, key training cultivators can still go to today's shops and stalls. For this auction, the Spirit Beast sect also spent a lot of money. Not only did the shops launch many rare treasures, but even the stall rental fees were reduced by 80%. When the group arrived at the commercial street, they only felt the huge size of Jidai City and the number of cultivators. Lin Shiming also met the Su family, who were also cultivators from Yunzhou. At this moment, Jin Bashan also came from outside with the Jin family children. After the two families had a friendly quarrel, they left separately. Shiming, let's set up a stall too. Lin Yuzhang's eyes lit up when he saw so many cultivators. The 80% reduction in rental fees also meant a lot more profit. They killed many demon cultivators and now they also had a lot of spoils. Fifth grandpa, of course. Lin Shiming couldn't help but admire when he saw this. Lin Yuzhang is worthy of being the head of the family caravan. Shiming, I won't go to the auction either. Let's set up a stall together and prepare some Spirit Beast eggs and Spirit Beast cubs for the younger generations of the family with the character Z. Lin Haoyan also said. Lin Shiming thought about it and agreed. He knew that his father saw that there was no hope of breaking through the middle stage of foundation building, and the third-level middle-grade magic weapon was also both offensive and defensive. The key training monks of the Lin family went to the stall area together, leaving only Lin Shiming and Lin Haoyan to go to the auction. The auction hall of Jidai City is located in the center of Jidai City's commercial street. There is also a spiritual wood, but it is a third-level upper-grade spiritual wood, the phoenix tree. Along the way, Lin Shiming also saw many monks from the Wanjian sect, who were wearing green robes similar to the Qingxuan sect and the Lingxiao sect wearing embroidered animal robes, but the disciples of the Wanjian sect all carried a broadsword on their backs. The two entered the auction through the hall door and randomly found a seat in the full hall. At this moment, the hall was full of foundation building monks, and in some private rooms behind the hall, there were purple mansion monks. Speaking of it, this auction was much taller than the Qingxuan auction of the Qingxuan sect. Whether it was the elegant decoration scale of the auction hall or the auction items this time, they were incomparable. After more than half an hour, a purple mansion monk in a beast robe walked into the hall, and the auction officially began. Thank you all for coming thousands of miles to defend our sect against foreign enemies. Now that the war has stopped, our sect is holding an auction. I am Chen Yuan, with a Taoist name Sanai, and I am also the person in charge of this auction. This auction will also be won by the highest bidder. If you don't have enough spirit stones, you can auction items or treasures on the spot to use as a substitute. The first auction item is the wood spiritual liquid, which can help a second-level wood monster break through to the third level. The auction reserve price is 50,000, and each bid must not be less than 1,000. Chapter 208 Purple Mysterious Jade. With the appearance of the wood heart spirit liquid, Lin Shiming was the first to be shocked. He did not expect that the first auction item would be the wood heart spirit liquid. He happened to have a second-level wood demon, the Minx and Tea King wood demon. It was at the peak of the second level, and the tea leaves were extremely good. If he had the wood heart spirit liquid and broke through to the third level, the effect of the tea leaves would surely be even more extraordinary. 100,000 spirit stones. Lin Shiming sighed at the unprecedented scale of the auction and started to raise the price. 120,000 spirit stones. 130,000 spirit stones. There were quite a few cultivators who were selling the wood heart spirit liquid. In the past, the wood heart spirit liquid was exclusive to the sect. This was the first time it was auctioned. Lin Shiming was shocked, and so were the other foundation building families. At least there was a trace of the foundation building pill, which was auctioned every 10 years. The wood heart spirit liquid had not appeared many times before. 250,000 spirit stones. After Lin Shiming opened his mouth, no one bid anymore. This price is enough to auction a third-grade medium-quality defensive magic weapon. Although many foundation building families need it, they still controlled themselves rationally. After all, there are many treasures in this auction. Lin Shiming breathed a sigh of relief after bidding for the wood spiritual liquid. Now that he has a cave world, he can transplant a Minxin tea tree and the small magical power tree and the Shineling fruit tree into the cave world. He can catalyze them every day and drink the Minxin tea tree's natal spiritual tea at all times. The next auction item is a third-grade medium-quality elixir, Pian Pill. The starting price is 80,000 spirit stones, and each bid increase must not be less than 1,500 spirit stones. While Lin Shiming was thinking, Sanai Sanran also took out a new auction item. This Pian Pill is used to consolidate the foundation building period. Lin Shiming also used it to break through the middle stage of the foundation building period. It was exchanged by Lin Xianzi in the Demon Slaying Tower. Lin Shiming did not bid for the Pian Pill. The next few treasures are all relatively precious, but they are not of much benefit to the Lin family. The starting price of one foundation building pill is 30,000, and each increase in price must not be less than 5,000. And the next foundation building pill instantly made the whole scene hot. The foundation building families present, more or less, have lost some foundation building cultivators in the war. At this moment, when the foundation building pill came out, the bids on the scene were even more ups and downs. Everyone argued with red faces, wishing for the highest price. 40,000 spirit stones. 50,000 spirit stones. 100,000 spirit stones. 100,000 spirit stones. 30 foundation establishment pills were sold in a row, and Lin Shiming also bought 3 on behalf of the family, all of which were around 130,000 spirit stones. What surprised him was that the Su family did not make any bids from beginning to end, and just closed their eyes to rest. This made Lin Shiming pay attention. After the foundation establishment pills were auctioned, some third-grade, upper-grade and best-grade magic tools were auctioned, but Lin Shiming did not bid. Instead, Lin Shiming's seventh uncle, Lin Xianzi, spent 1 million spirit stones and bought a best-grade magic tool, the Te Sinelin Pagoda. A third-grade, upper-grade Sinelin God-forging flower, with some seeds. Needless to say, the effect of the Sinelin God-forging flower can improve the spiritual awareness of cultivators, even for cultivators in the late stage of foundation building. Of course, this God-forging flower was purchased by a casual cultivator, and the seeds are not well maintained, but maybe some rare spiritual liquids can revive it. The starting price is 150,000 spirit stones, and each bid increase must not be less than 5,000 spirit stones. As Sanai Sanran spoke, Lin Shiming also instantly calmed down, and couldn't help but get excited. If the God-forging flower is paired with his God-splitting art, he has the hope of breaking through his consciousness to the level of foundation building. Although the seeds of the God-forging flower were picked carelessly by the Bangshu Sanran, causing great damage to his spiritual energy, for him, his purple wood heart sutra plus his hidden spiritual body may be able to germinate the seeds. You know, his golden thunder bamboo was also saved by his purple wood heart sutra. Lin Shiming suppressed his excitement. A 3-element God-forging flower is nothing. At this moment, the seeds are the most important to him. 200,000 spirit stones. 250,000 spirit stones. 300,000 spirit stones. While Lin Shiming was thinking, the 3-element God-forging flower had broken through the 300,000 spirit stones. 450,000 spirit stones. Lin Shiming spoke, and in an instant he added 150,000 spirit stones. 500,000 spirit stones. Someone else spoke, and it was a cultivator from the 10,000 Swords sect. 550,000. Lin Shiming did not give an at all. This 3-element God-forging flower would be of great use to his subsequent practice. Dao, you can come to our Wanjian sect as a guest at any time. I am Wan Qing, and I'll give you 600,000 spirit stones. Wan Qing, a disciple of the Wanjian sect, spoke again. This time, there was even more of a threat. However, Wan Qing's statement was extremely clever, and even the 3-leaf wanderer of the Spirit Beast sect could not say anything. 700,000 spirit stones. Lin Shiming did not give an at all, and ignored Wan Qing. Wan Qing's face suddenly became extremely ugly, and he did not continue to bid. His chest rose and fell violently, and his eyes stared at Lin Shiming fiercely, as if he wanted to kill Lin Shiming with his eyes. Lin Shiming ignored Wan Qing, who was just a disciple of the Wanjian sect. The 3-yuan forging god flower was also very important to him. After the auction, Lin Shiming also went on stage to put away the forging god flower, and then sat in his seat with his eyes closed to rest. He had harvested 2 treasures in a row, and at this moment, he had reaped a lot. The auction was still going on, and several third-level top-grade magic tools and third-level top-grade materials were auctioned. And suddenly, the whole scene began to shake again, especially at this moment. Those purple mansion cultivators also began to look hot. I saw Sanrin took out a jade plate, and the red cloth on the jade plate was unveiled. An extremely rich spiritual energy suddenly gushed out, and with a breeze, it came towards the cultivators, revealing a piece of purple spiritual jade. The spiritual jade was full of precious light, which kept flowing, layer after layer, like a dazzling rainbow. Purple mysterious jade. Countless people on the field exclaimed. At this moment, the whole scene began to boil. I believe everyone already knows that this is the purple mysterious jade, which can increase the probability of Purple Palace breakthrough by 2 levels. Although the probability is 1 level lower than that of Purple Palace jade liquid, it is definitely one of the best treasures. The reserve price is 2 million, and each bid must not be less than 10,000 spiritual stones. 2,100,000. 2,200,000. Seeing this terrifying price, Lin Yi also smiled bitterly. He had some ideas about the purple mysterious jade, but this reserve price was all his spirit stones, so he had to give up immediately. Even the price of ordinary magic weapons could not compare to this purple mysterious jade. At this moment, Lin Yi couldn't help but think, the purple mysterious jade is already so valuable, how much will the purple mansion jade liquid be worth? The price of the purple mysterious jade soon reached 3 million spirit stones, and it was still setting new highs. There were more than a dozen people bidding, and no one had the intention of giving up. Among them, Jin Bosheng and Wan Qing were there, and in addition, Xian was also bidding. Unlike the Foundation Establishment Pill, the Foundation Establishment Pill can be exchanged in the sect with contribution points. The treasures that break through the Purple Mansion are also rare in the sect. In addition to a large amount of contribution points, a certain amount of talent or recommendation by the Purple Mansion Elders are also required. Chapter 209 Lin Yi is in trouble. The auction of the purple and black jade made the whole auction house crazy. Not only the foundation building cultivators, but also many Purple Mansion cultivators were bidding at this moment. After all, Purple Mansion cultivators also have families, disciples, and descendants. And as each Purple Mansion cultivator spoke up, the pressure on the foundation building cultivators became greater. Except for the direct disciples of the sect, those family cultivators without backgrounds hesitated. 4 million spirit stones. 4,200,000 spirit stones. The price of the purple and black jade was still rising. At this moment, Lin Yi also looked at Lin Yi fiercely and handed a storage bag to Lin Yi. In the storage bag, there were exactly 2 million low-grade spirit stones, of course, including the high-grade spirit stones obtained before. Lin Yi's move was naturally to use all the power of the whole family to buy a Purple Mansion gem for Lin Yi. It was also to show his determination to let Lin Yi let go of the competition. However, before he started bidding after taking the storage bag, he found that the spiritual stones of the purple and black jade had reached 6 million low-grade spiritual stones. In the end, the purple and black jade was sold for 7.8 million spiritual stones, and was won by Wan Qing of the Wanjian sect. It also set the highest price of this auction. When this price was announced, many cultivators felt extremely crazy. In the past, even the price of the Purple Mansion jade liquid was only so much, but this time, the price was much higher than that of the Purple Mansion jade liquid. Of course, this matter is also obvious. The Xianmo sect and the Lianxi sect occupied part of the territory of Zhao State, and Zhao State's resources were greatly reduced. In addition, in this war, many Purple Mansion families became foundation-building families, and many foundation-building families became key training families. At this moment, there is naturally no shortage of people who sell their property to compete for the price of the Purple Mansion jade. However, Wan Qing is, after all, a core disciple of the Wanjian sect, and his status is obviously not low. After Wan Qing won the auction, he left immediately after the auction and disappeared from the auction hall. With him, there were several foundation-building cultivators and a Purple Mansion elder from the Wanjian sect. If the Purple Mansion gem was not dealt with quickly, some Purple Mansion independent cultivators and even Purple Mansion families might take risks. As Wan Qing and others left, many cultivators also left, most of whom were cultivators in the late stage of foundation building or the great perfection of foundation building, and a small number of purple mansion cultivators. However, Lin Shiming and Lin Xianzi stayed at the auction. Although he didn't like Wan Qing's style, he didn't have the strength to have any bad ideas. It would be better to see if there were any treasures at the auction. The next treasures were all magic weapons and 4th-level treasures, and even included a 4th-level refining inheritance. The value of the inheritance was no less than that of the purple and black gems. Of course, even if Lin Shiming and others were greedy, they couldn't bid for it. Finally, the 4th-level elixir Xiundan appeared. This Xiundan, even a purple mansion cultivator, could increase his cultivation by taking this elixir. The final treasure was a 5th-level magic weapon, and even the purple mansion cultivators from the 3 major sects competed for it, and finally it was sold at a sky-high price of 18 million. After the auction, Lin Shiming felt that his trip was worthwhile. Not only did he auction the wood spiritual liquid and the 3-element forging god flower, but he also witnessed an auction of tens of millions. As soon as the auction ended, Lin Shiming and the others came to the street stall. At this moment, the Lin family's stall was surprisingly popular. Lin Yazheng, according to the Lin family's strategy, will give customers a 2nd-level medium quality or lower spiritual object for every 3rd-level spiritual object sold. Even if the discount is not much, for a group of casual cultivators, as long as there is a discount, it is already considered a conscientious seller. Not to mention that there is a pot of Minxin tea in front of the Lin family's street stall. As long as the cultivators who pass by buy a product, they will invite them to drink a cup of spiritual tea. Although it is not worth a few spirit stones, the alternative promotion soon became popular in the street stall area. Many stall owners followed the example of the Lin family and gave gifts and spiritual tea at the same time. However, by the time they realized it, the Lin family had already taken the lead. After the auction was over, many of the remaining people from the foundation building family and the purple mansion family had already gone back, and the flow of people decreased a lot. 5th grandfather, you are really amazing. Seeing that Lin Yazheng had sold another 3rd-level inferior magic weapon, Lin Shiming took out a cup, poured a mouthful of spiritual tea, and brought it to Lin Yazheng for him to drink. The master of the family is too polite. This is still inspired by the master of the family's model. Lin Yazheng drank a mouthful of spiritual tea, squinted his eyes, and looked happy, but on the surface, he couldn't help but praise Lin Shiming. This model has been quite perfect in Xing County. If the Lin family had not had the opportunity to come to Jingwei City in the future, the Lin family could have made a greater profit with the next reduction in exemption activities, and then made a bigger fortune. At this moment, the other children of the Lin family were also filled with smiles. After the battle, in addition to the relaxation of body and mind, everyone also felt the importance of being a family. If the family is not strong enough, the chance of death in such a battlefield will be much greater. With this Zhaochu war, the number of independent cultivators in the 2 Xiuxin countries will be reduced. Shiming, I bought some young spirit beasts and some spirit beast eggs. Lin Haoyan also came over from the side, carrying 2 spirit beast bags and a spirit beast bracelet. Jingwei City belongs to the spirit beast sect, and the disciples of the spirit beast sect are extremely good at breeding spirit beasts and selling young spirit beasts. The price is much more favorable than that in the Kingxuan sect. When the time comes, the younger generations of the family will have the talent of spirit beasts, which will also increase their combat power. Yet, Lin Xianzi nodded beside him. The Lin family still has too few cultivators now, but they have few resources. There are spirit fish raised in the Qinglian pond, the income of Xingxin market is also getting higher and higher, and the family's voice in Qinglian market is getting higher and higher, and there are also mineral veins in Lingnan County. It is enough for the talented cultivators of the Lin family to enjoy the growth of spirit beasts. However, at this moment, a spiritual talisman came and went directly in front of Lin Haoyan. Lin Haoyan checked the spiritual talisman, and the next moment his eyes changed. Shiming, 7th uncle, Shiai is in trouble. After this, Lin Shiming and Lin Xianzi's faces also changed. They asked Lin Yazheng to continue setting up the stall, and then the 3 of them walked deeper into the stall area. Soon, they found Lin Shiai in front of a stall. At this time, a brocade-clothed foundation building cultivator grabbed Lin Shiai's hand. Lin Shiai struggled hard, but he couldn't get away at all. He was just a peaky training physical cultivator, while the latter was a foundation building cultivator, and his physical skills were obviously extraordinary. Fellow Taoist, what's the matter with grabbing the hand of a cultivator from my family? Lin Shiming strode forward. When he pushed his hand there, the brocade-clothed cultivator's hand felt a huge force, and suddenly retreated several steps before standing firm. When the brocade-clothed cultivator saw Lin Shiming, he was immediately furious, and then he spoke loudly, "How dare you? Do you know who I am?" If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210, Unknown Cave Map. A large group of people instantly gathered around the stall in front of Lin Shiming. "You're not that brave, but I really don't know who you are." Lin Shiming also replied in a cold voice. In his opinion, suppressing a cultivator with such an identity was extremely childish. If he was suppressed by a cultivator with a perfect foundation, he might have taken a second look. Lin Shiming's words also made the brocade-robed cultivator more angry. His chest swelled, and he was obviously suppressing a lot of anger, as if he was about to explode at any time. The original stall owner was just a key training cultivator. He immediately began to pack up the stall and hurriedly retreated, not daring to stay too long. He couldn't afford to offend the foundation-building cultivators of the two families. However, the brocade-robed cultivator shouted again, "Stop!" With a cold shout, the key training peak cultivator suddenly came back with a sad face, and kept smiling. The brocade-robed cultivator then looked at Lin Shiming again, and then took out a token with the word Spirit Talisman on both sides. "Do you know now? By the way, Su Hao from the Lingfu sect is my brother. My name is Su Zhen." "Su Hao? Then I really know him." Lin Shiming looked a little strange, and couldn't help but look at Su Zhen again. He doubted Su Zhen's IQ. How could he cultivate to the foundation building stage? "If you know him, why don't you give me the jade slip? I've taken a fancy to that treasure, and I'm the first one to buy it." A key training master rushed to snatch something in front of me, so prepare to apologize. Su Zhen sneered. "Master, I clearly took a fancy to this jade slip first, but I didn't have enough spirit stones, so I went to borrow some from Uncle 13, and I've paid the deposit. Why can't it be considered a purchase?" Lin Yi was also very angry at this moment. He had a strong character. Although he knew that the other party was not ordinary at this moment, he was not wrong, and he would not make a mistake. He didn't believe that the market in Jiuai City could be assassinated by a foundation-building cultivator. While Lin Yi was talking, another figure in a Taoist robe came from a distance. The cultivator was wearing a Lingfu pattern robe, with sword eyebrows and star eyes, and a majestic demeanor. It was Su Hao. "Brother, this Kagan cultivator robbed my things and called for help from the foundation-building family." Su Zhen emphasized a foundation-building family and complained. He had inquired in advance that the Lin family was only a foundation-building family in Yunzhou, so he thought he would not be wrong. Fellow Taoist Lin. However, to his surprise, Su Hao cupped his hands to Lin Shiming, obviously knowing him. After a slight greeting, he glared at Su Zhen. "Su Zhen, have you done something stupid again? Why don't you apologize to this fellow Taoist Lin Shiming?" Su Hao's cold shout was so strong that Su Zhen was directly shocked. The ostentatious expression disappeared, and instead, as if he remembered something, he opened his mouth wide. "Brother, is this the Lin Shiming who defeated you? How come he is younger than me? I told you a long time ago that there are always people better than you, and you are still being arrogant here, and you still don't apologize." Su Hao shouted again. "Brother, although he is better than you, I am not looking for trouble. He didn't buy it, so I offered a higher price, and the stall owner agreed to it." Su Zhen thought of his brother's character again, and finally pointed at the stall owner and added. When Lin Shiming heard this, he looked at Lin Yi, who nodded, and then looked at the stall owner again, only to see that the latter's neck shrank slightly, feeling extremely guilty. He knew in his heart that Su Zhen was probably a little arrogant, but it was not really a robbery, but the stall owner was obviously tempted by the higher price offered by Su Zhen and regretted it. "Two seniors, spare my life, two seniors, spare my life." The stall owner immediately knelt down and kowtowed to the ground. At this time, the law enforcement team of the Spirit Beast sect who managed the market also came over, but when they saw that there was no fight, they dispersed again. 2 seniors, I am willing to compensate you with a treasure each. The casual cultivator kowtowed continuously, and his scalp was directly broken. Then he took out a storage bag and spread out the treasures he had just put away for Lin Shiming and Su Zhen to choose. Even if this is the case, you should apologize to this young monk first. Su Hao still said coldly. Seeing this, Su Zhen was reluctant, but seeing Su Hao's extremely serious look, he also gave in. My fellow Taoist, I was wrong, I apologize to you. Su Zhen said. Seeing this, Lin Yi was also a little at a loss. It was the stall owner's fault, and the foundation building cultivator apologized to him again. He really didn't know how to deal with it. Interpersonal relationships were not his strong point. Fellow Taoist Su, since it was a misunderstanding, Lin is here to apologize. Lin Shiming bowed. Then he looked at the stall owner again and said, Fellow Taoist Su, you can choose the apology first. Seeing this, Su Hao also laughed. Brother Lin invited me, why don't you thank Brother Lin? Su Hao glared at Su Zhen again, and the latter immediately thanked Lin Shiming. Then he glared at the stall owner again, and then under the stall owner's reluctant eyes, he chose the most expensive third-level top-grade magic weapon. Lin Shiming also wanted Lin Yi to choose one, but the next moment, the system prompt appeared again, please choose a map, and you will get the cave of an unknown cultivator in Qingyuan mountain range. Lin Shiming was stunned at this moment. He didn't expect that the system prompt would appear at this time. He stopped talking and began to scan the stalls. Finally, under the surprised eyes of the stall owner, he chose an inconspicuous map. Senior, you should choose another one. The stall owner's face was bleak again at this moment. He knew that the map was drawn very poorly and looked like it was randomly compiled by a cultivator who had just started practicing. In his opinion, Lin Shiming chose this one, obviously not wanting to let him go, and wanted to settle the score after he left Jidwai City. Lin Shiming obviously didn't expect to be misunderstood by this casual cultivator, and then asked Lin Yi to choose another top-grade magic weapon, and the latter felt relieved. He put away the stall, then rushed into the crowd and quickly disappeared from sight. Brother Lin, why don't you go to Laiyu Tower for a drink? Su Hao obviously didn't understand why Lin Shiming chose the treasure map for the first time, and then invited him. No, thank you for your kindness, Brother Su. My family wants to set up a stall for a while, so I won't accompany you. Let's meet again another day. Lin Shiming bowed his hands and refused. Of course, he was not dissatisfied, but the Lin family did have a lot of things to do. After buying 3 foundation building pills, Lin Haoshao and Lin Yi can prepare for the breakthrough of the foundation building. Since Brother Lin is not free, let's do it another day, but I still have to remind you that Wan Qing also got the quota for enlightenment. Su Hao reminded him again. Obviously he knew about the conflict between Lin Shiming and Wan Qing at the auction. After hearing this, Lin Shiming also thanked him, and then took Lin Yi back to the stall. Behind him, Su Hao kept watching Lin Shiming in the distance. Brother, this fellow Taoist Lin, his physical cultivation strength is better than mine. Su Zhen raised his hand and said suddenly. More than just a physical cultivator, he has many other tricks. Su Hao's eyes were a little dazed, his mind was full of the battle between Lin Shiming and Chen Yuan that day. Sorry, everyone, the update is late, mainly because I have been sitting for a long time and my waist hurts. I hope everyone will forgive me and give me some subscriptions so that I can buy some supplements and save the child. I am only 18 years old. Chapter 211, 3-Element God Forging Flower. At Laiyu Tower, after the dispute involving Lin Yi, the Lin family also closed their stalls and everyone returned to their residences. In Lin Xian's room, Lin Yi lowered his head, feeling somewhat guilty. Lin Xianzi, Lin Yuking, Lin Haoyun and other elders were also very serious. This time, it was extremely dangerous. If Lin Shiming had not arrived, there might really be an accident. Lin Yi had a dispute with a foundation building cultivator. Even if the law enforcement team came, Su Zhen was a disciple of the Lingfu sect and a foundation building cultivator. The only one who would suffer would be Lin Yi. Yi, even if you did not mean to do it this time, this action still violated the clan rules. This time when you return to Fangmu Mountain, you must face the wall in the back mountain for 10 years and are not allowed to leave the mountain. Do you have any objections? Lin Yuking, as the head of the law enforcement hall and the former great elder, spoke seriously. Replying to grandfather, Yi has no objection. Lin Yi still lowered his head, but was obviously a little surprised. Back at Lin Tower, he also felt a little rash at this moment. Facing the disciples of the sect, especially those with powerful backgrounds, the family would definitely suffer a great loss if they fought together. Fortunately, Lin Yi was strong enough and had a big face. In his opinion, the punishment that Lin Yi discussed with the elders was simply forcing him to retreat. But he has been polishing his spiritual energy. It will take less than 5 or 6 years to break through the foundation building. By then, it will take several more years. 7th uncle, grandfather, patriarch, this is the jade slip that Yi bought. It is a broken wind attribute technique. In addition, this is the treasure that Yi selected, the cloak hammer. Lin Yi then presented the jade slips he bought this time and the magic tools he harvested one by one. Seeing this, Lin Yi was also a little excited. At this moment, their Lin family has the 5 elements and thunder attributes of the techniques, but there is no wind attribute technique. If the family can produce different spiritual roots in the future, there is no need to worry about the lack of initial techniques. Lin Yi took the jade slip, but did not move the magic weapon. His spiritual sense probed into the jade slip. This technique was called Shadow Wind Art, and it was a low-grade Zhuan level technique. Unfortunately, the wind attribute secret of the technique was incomplete, and it could only be cultivated to the initial stage of foundation building. Even so, this technique was definitely a valuable secret technique, especially for their Lin family. After all, the Lin family only had a few hundred years of foundation, and most of the time it was barely lingering on the edge of the foundation building family. It lacked this kind of foundation. Second brother, this purchase of the technique is also a meritorious service, so you can keep the cloak hammer. Lin Yi, as the head of the family, put away the jade slip. Then Lin Yi took out another map, which was the one he got from the stall of the casual cultivator. 7th uncle, great-grandfather, father, you can also take a look. Does this map look familiar? After hearing what Lin Yi said, several people also took the map, but they hesitated on their faces. This map was made too crudely, just like a doodle by a mortal, and it has no spirituality. Apart from the material used for drawing, which is a piece of decent animal skin, it is impossible to see the preciousness of this treasure map. If Lin Yi hadn't handed it to them, they wouldn't have looked at it twice. After looking at it for a few times, several people shook their heads and said they had never seen it. However, Lin Xianzi, who saw Lin Yi choose this map with his own eyes, asked with some doubts, I have indeed never seen it. Shiming, is there any mystery in this map? It's just a little familiar, like a place in the Qinghai Mountains. Lin Yi pondered for a while and then answered. Seeing this, several people looked at it carefully again, and even called Lin Yi, Lin Haowei and others to observe it, but still had no idea. The Lin family had to give up and put away the map. After the family returned to Fangmu Mountain, they would make arrangements. After everyone dispersed, Lin Yi also returned to the room, took out the formation that isolated the divine consciousness, and entered the cave world. The thick spiritual energy surged, making him feel relaxed and happy for a while. Since the cave was already a third-grade top-grade spiritual vein, the surrounding common spiritual herbs and some weeds began to grow wildly. In just over half a month, they had grown to half a person's height, which was a huge change from before. Only the cultivation sites of the poisonous dragon vine, the green snake vine, and the purple gold vine were still in the seed stage and had not sprouted. Aoao. The red-haired demon monkey jumped over from a small slope in the distance, constantly howling, and scratching Lin Yi's waist with its claws. If it hadn't known how to use the storage bag, it would have probably taken the storage bag by now. Here, you're so impatient. Lin Yi also smiled and took out the spiritual water he had prepared in advance, as well as the purchased animal-raising pills, and fed the red-haired demon monkey a lot. Squeak. A golden light came out, and the golden winged mantis that was lying there also came to the front. The golden winged mantis squeaked non-stop, and its golden triangular head kept touching Lin Yi's thigh intimately. Lin Yi also took out the animal-raising pills and spiritual water as usual, plus the spiritual beast meat. The golden winged mantis ate very quietly, but the red-haired demon monkey raised his arms from time to time, trying to take food from the golden winged mantis, but was greeted by 2 golden sickle legs. In the end, The red-haired demon monkey had to turn his back and not look at the golden-winged mantis. Lin Shiming was also amused by the red-haired demon monkey at this moment, but then he took out a jade bottle. The jade bottle was slightly transparent, revealing the dark green spiritual liquid inside. He slightly opened the bottle stopper and felt a very pure wood-attributed spiritual energy rushing out. In a trance, he felt that the spiritual herbs around him began to move. This spiritual liquid was the wood soul liquid he bought this time. After checking the wood soul liquid, Lin Shiming put it away, and then took out a 3-element forging god flower. The 3-element forging god flower has 3 stems. When it grows mature, it is also a 3-flower plant. Only when the 3 flowers are taken at the same time can it have the effect of forging the god. Of course, the forging god pill made with a 3-element forging god flower has a better effect, but the Lin family does not have a 3rd-level top-grade alchemist at the moment. Lin Shiming removed the seeds of the god forging flower one by one, and cultivated a small spiritual field next to the spiritual vine. After the spiritual field was taken, he first poured in the ordinary spiritual plant master's spiritual liquid. After the spiritual liquid was watered, the spiritual light was radiant, and then the spiritual soil was taken out, and a small layer was spread on the surface of the spiritual field. Then, the seeds of the 3-element god forging flower were taken out and carefully planted. After everything was ready, Lin Shiming put the true essence in his body. Because these seeds were picked incorrectly, the spiritual energy was greatly damaged. He was not sure whether they could be catalyzed and revived and germinated at this moment. After 3 days of stimulating the growth, Lin Shiming felt a vitality coming from the seeds and was greatly relieved. Sure enough, as he guessed, his hidden spiritual body and the Purple Wood Heart Sutra could stimulate these seeds. However, what disappointed him was that it normally took 40 years for the seeds of the 3-element forging god flower to germinate and mature. Even if his Purple Wood Heart Sutra could catalyze the cultivation, it could only take 3 times as long. In other words, it would be of no use during the trip to the Zhuanpan secret realm 5 years later. Chapter 212 Enlightenment Tips. In the blink of an eye, another 20 days passed. On Jiwai Mountain, a group of cultivators, led by Sanai Sanrin from the Spiritual Beast sect, came to a huge white fir spiritual tree. The huge branches of the spiritual tree formed a huge shade. It was even more shocking to watch it up close. Of course, the cultivators remembered the white fir spiritual tree branches turning into the sea that day as if they were fresh in their memory, and they were full of awe. Sanai Sanrin cast a spiritual talisman and escaped into the void. The next moment, a ray of light appeared in the empty void, and then it spread out like ripples on the lake, and then a light door about 3 meters long was revealed. Let's go. Remember not to walk around, the formation has been arranged here, and remember what I told you when I came here, otherwise even if Jewa Deo Iao is in seclusion, you can't bear that kind of anger. As for the others, I won't say more, as you are lead disciples of various sects and clans, you naturally understand. Sanai Sanrin once again warned the group of 9 people. Lin Shiming and his group also nodded quickly. Taoist Jiwai was naturally the purple mansion wood monster. Although it was a white fir tree, in order to show respect for the white fir master, all the disciples of the spiritual beast sect respectfully called the wood monster Jiwai Sanrin. When they walked in from the light gate, the 9 people were shocked. It was not an empty scene in front of them. Countless white fir trees that were countless times smaller came into view, followed by countless densely packed roots that penetrated into the ground, and there was no end in sight. Only the white fir tree in the center sent out a terrifying spiritual pressure. Sanai Sanrin continued to lead in front, and Lin Shiming and the other 9 people followed carefully. This time, Lin Shiming came to realize the truth with 4 acquaintances, Su Hao, Yi Changyin, and Wan Qing. The remaining 5 people were pre-selected, 3 spiritual beast sect monks, 1 spiritual talisman sect monk, and 1 Kingsuan sect monk. Soon, they came to the real foot of the white fir tree. They could see with the naked eye a huge tree face with its eyes closed. Sanai Sanrin waved his hand as a greeting. Then 9 branches fell down, entangled the 9 people one by one, and then flew into the air. They fell one by one on 9 huge leaves, which were also the spiritual leaves of the white fir tree and also the spiritual platform for enlightenment. The spiritual leaves were extremely spacious, as big as a room. Lin Shiming sat down cross-legged, and then his ears seemed to ring with the rhythm of the Tao, and then waves of green light and strange energy poured into his body and entangled his heart. Lin Shiming only felt that there was a special energy in his body that began to resonate. In his mind, there appeared a group of light balls, one of which was a picture of a person practicing swordsmanship and slashing the sky with a grass sword, and another was a picture of a person waving his hand, and the grass and trees were all soldiers, and he was invincible in the world. There was also a scene of resting at sunset and working at sunrise at the foot of Nanshan Mountain, cultivating spiritual plants. Each picture represents the beginning of enlightenment. Some of the pictures are strong and some are weak, the strong ones are radiant, and the weak ones are dim. He had already learned from Sanai Sanrin that as long as the consciousness enters any picture, he can begin to realize the Tao. Seeing this, Lin Shiming fixed his eyes on the picture of the grass sword formula enlightenment. The grass sword seed in his heart has been planted, and it is only waiting for the sprout to sprout the sword intent. And this grass sword formula is more accurate than Zixuan Sanrin's version. As long as he succeeds in enlightenment, I believe his strength will have a more earth-shaking effect. At that time, the trip to the Zuanpan secret realm 5 years later will have an extra guarantee. However, at this time, the prompt sounded again. Please observe the preaching of the white fir spirit tree, deduce, and understand, and you will obtain the prototype of the root of deduction, a small supernatural power. The prompt of the system made Lin Shiming's body tremble violently, and his consciousness stopped in front of the sword picture. He couldn't help rubbing his eyes at this moment, and he couldn't believe it. It was actually the prototype of a small supernatural power, and it was the root of deduction. Let's not say that the system is definitely the best choice, just the word deduction also represents the extraordinary of this supernatural power. What made him hesitate was that the root of observation and deduction, observing his preaching and deduction, might alarm the white fir spirit tree. If he angered the other party, he could not guarantee whether he could leave a whole body. However, the next moment, Lin Shiming gritted his teeth. Sanai Sanrin's reminder at that time did not include this, and Wu Dao did not say that he could not explore along the route of the picture. Seeing this, Lin Shiming also plucked up his courage and began to slowly observe the pictures. Hundreds of pictures were running quietly. Although he did not integrate, he felt that his head was filled with terrifying information. Everything, preaching is starting. Lin Shiming began to calm down, understand one by one, sort out, and classify the same deductions into one category. Then he began to check the pictures again, and saw that behind the pictures were slightly transparent roots. If you don't look carefully, you can't find them at all. At this moment, Lin Shiming had a little understanding. Everything is inseparable from its roots, and everything has its own growth law. After the roots, it is connected to the entire life spirit leaf and the entire Wu Dao spirit platform. However, the next moment, Lin Shiming found that he saw the entire white fir tree, 9 spiritual leaves, and 9 spiritual platforms for enlightenment. He saw one queen comprehending a sword technique that made all the swords return to the origin, 100 swords return to 1, 1,000 swords return to 1, and finally 10,000 swords return to 1. He saw Su Hao comprehending a spiritual talisman, which was so complicated that he felt dizzy. At this moment, he had a full view of the enlightenment process of the other 8 people. However, what scared him was that a huge face appeared next to him at some point. That face was exactly the same as what Lin Shiming saw on the body of the white fir tree. For a moment, Lin Shiming just wanted to beg for mercy and leave immediately. He could imagine what kind of anger he would face. However, the next moment, he found nothing. He looked carefully again, but found that the tree face frowned, with a high bulge in the temple, and was obviously in a state of closed-mindedness. Of course, the most terrifying thing is the head of the tree face, as if a magic mace had cut off a part of it, and there were waves of magic mist growing continuously. Lin Shiming remembered the screams during the battle that day, and guessed that this attack should have been left by the 2 late-stage Purple Mansion demon cultivators. The white fir spirit tree demon also fell into a closed-door state to suppress his injuries. Appearing next to it was just driven by instinct, to realize the truth and preach the truth. Of course, at this moment, Lin Shiming also somewhat agreed with what the 1,000 demons said that day. Standing here, the white fir spirit tree might really be able to absorb the truth. The roots evolve all things and absorb all things. This is why the spiritual roots of the white fir spirit tree are not only the power of entanglement, but can also use swords and guns to transform wind and rain. Only by his own strength can he kill 2 demon cultivators. If it were not for the involvement of the Enlightenment token, I am afraid that more than a dozen Purple Mansion demon cultivators at that time would have been killed on the spot by the White Fur Spirit Tree. Chapter 213, Unable to Understand. Lin Shiming shook his head and threw away all his messy thoughts. This was not the time to study the combat power of the White Fur Tree. Now that the White Fur Tree was in a dead-end retreat, he was in control of the entire Enlightenment, preaching, deduction, and enlightenment. This mysterious feeling made him extremely obsessed, and in the blink of an eye, he fell into a deep epiphany. There were not many monks on the viewing platform on the hillside of Jinghai Mountain, only a few. Among them, Lin Xianzi, Lin Haoyun, and Xian were all there. Naturally, not everyone can visit the opportunity to realize the truth in Jinghai, but the relatives of the enlightened people can visit. This is also the purpose of the Spirit Beast sect, to promote the greatness of Jinghai Mountain and the grandeur of the Spirit Beast sect. Just like the King Sun sect's ladder to immortality, it makes people respect it, and it feels that the opportunity is just ahead, and it feels that everyone can practice immortality. What caught the attention of several people was that Zixuan Sanren was also in the viewing pavilion, not far away. He picked up the teacup and sipped the tea quietly, calm and peaceful, but his eyes were always paying attention to the 9 spiritual platforms for enlightenment. There are many viewing pavilions. At this moment, there are also many people in other viewing pavilions. For example, the Purple Mansion cultivator of the Yi family is in the viewing pavilion. In addition, there are people from the Lingfu sect and the Wanjian sect. You can tell from the patterns on the robes of each sect. The Wanjian sect has a sword pattern, the Lingfu sect has various talismans, the Lingfu sect has flowers, birds, insects and beasts, the Ling Xiao sect has a pattern, and the King Sun sect has a pattern of mountains and rivers. Someone has realized the truth. That's our Ling Xiao sect's senior brother, Zhao Ziashen. Someone on the viewing platform couldn't help but exclaimed. Everyone looked into the distance and saw that the spiritual platform had been surrounded by abundant spiritual light. At some point, a strange phenomenon suddenly appeared. Everyone seemed to see dragons coming out of the sea, turning the clouds and rain, and controlling the wind and thunder. The terrifying phenomenon made everyone marvel again and again. Brother Zhao is indeed one of the 5 great spirit children of this generation, a genius with wind spirit roots. Legend has it that he has a 3rd-level giant python that is about to mutate. Now he has comprehended the dragon covering the sea. Look, Brother Bai from our Lingfu sect has also started, and he has comprehended a heavenly talisman. The exclamations of the crowd rang out again and again. One by one, the seeds of enlightenment began to comprehend the Tao. Lin Xianzi, Xian and others were also very hopeful. However, they saw that a spiritual light appeared one after another, surrounding the entire spiritual platform. The spiritual platform where Lin Shiming was located was always lacking in spiritual light and was neither hot nor cold. The faces of several people suddenly became extremely ugly, and Xian couldn't help but look at the viewing pavilion. Zixuan Sanren was obviously a little surprised at this moment. Looking at Lin Shiming's spiritual platform, he was a little disappointed. On the contrary, looking at Yi Changgian's spiritual platform, he had more expectations. Yi Changgian's spiritual light was not weak at all, and he also comprehended the sword. So that Zixuan Sanren would not walk away with his sleeve swung. There is still one person who can't comprehend it. At this moment, an extremely discordant voice sounded in the viewing platform. Lin Xianzi and others looked over and found that it was the person next to Wan Qing at the auction that day. This person was very fair and looked like a weak scholar. The sword he carried was also a soft sword, named Wan Wuyan. At this moment, he was looking at Lin Xianzi and others with a playful look in his eyes. The one he said who couldn't comprehend it was naturally Lin Shiming. When the other cultivators heard this, they couldn't help but look at Lin Xianzi and others more. With a foundation-building family, getting a quota for enlightenment is naturally outstanding. But now it seems that getting a quota for enlightenment is just a little more powerful magic weapon and a little better performance. Especially when the spiritual platform was silent for a long time, Wan Wuyan's teasing and discussion became louder, and the expressions and eyes of others became more. Don't pay attention to him, that man is just Wan Qing's lackey. Xian saw that Lin Xianzi's face was a little ugly, and his expression was obviously wrong. He was afraid that Lin Xianzi could not help it, so he also sent a message to Lin Xianzi. What they didn't know was that at this moment, a seed fell in the sea of consciousness in Lin Shiming's mind. The seed began to become translucent, began to glow, and finally began to sprout, forming a root the size of a little finger and two delicate tender leaves. Lin Shiming woke up suddenly and was surprised to find the changes in his sea of consciousness. But soon he turned into great joy. This root sprout was the prototype of his small magical power, the root of deduction. He only needed to stimulate this small magical power prototype, and he could start to deduce. When he arrived at the Purple Mansion, these small magical power prototypes would turn into small magical powers one by one. By then, the small magical powers that others racked their brains and pursued hard might become sparse and common in his side. When Lin Shiming thought of that scene, he was a little excited. This time, the harvest was too great for him. Lin Shiming couldn't help but stimulate the root of deduction, and saw waves of spiritual light, like ripples on the lake, from the roots to the outside. And he also found that with the rippling of the roots, he felt that he could control the enlightenment and preaching of the white fir tree. If the deduction power of the white fir tree is 100, Lin Shiming's deduction power is only 1. But at this moment, the white fir tree fell into silence, but he didn't expect that he would feel a terrifying deduction power. In particular, he found that he controlled the size of the deduction power. So Lin Shiming also returned to his spiritual platform and began to draw the deduction power, rushing towards himself. In an instant, Lin Shiming's spiritual platform began to appear an extremely dazzling scene. He was deducing the grass sword formula. As the comprehension began, he seemed to be in the world of grass. One grass, one cultivator. One grass, one magical power. In an instant, Lin Shiming found that he could not move, and when he looked inward, he found that he had also become a spiritual grass. It was just that the various grass sword intentions around him began to rise from the ground and cut through the sky. This scene was extremely shocking. While his body and mind were extremely shocked, the seed of the grass sword art in his body seemed to begin to sprout. The grass sword intention was born. The comprehension continued, but Lin Shiming was a little worried that the time was not enough, so he drew out 1/10 again. There were more grass swords around him, and his comprehension was deeper. But it was not enough. Lin Shiming looked at one queen again and directly drew out 70% of his spiritual light, leaving only 10%. In the outside world, everyone began to exclaim at this moment. Especially Lin Xianzi, Zian and others, seeing Lin Shiming's spiritual platform. It was like the scorching sun at this moment, blazing and dazzling, and they were all extremely happy. And the Zixuan Sanren next to him, his pupils shrank slightly, and he was obviously surprised by Lin Shiming. Then he wanted to leave, but he took out some spiritual tea again and continued to brew spiritual tea. And this time the spiritual tea he took out was a 4th level spiritual tea. Zixuan Sanren was obviously very comfortable. There is another chapter that will be posted a little later at noon. Brothers, I have been concerned about national affairs these 2 days. Although I am in a humble position, I dare not forget my country. Chapter 214 Suspicion. At this moment, Wan Wuan's face was the ugliest. His face was sometimes red and sometimes purple, which was very strange. Even though the Lin family didn't speak, they kept looking at him. It was as if they were looking at a clown. This made him more angry than mocking him. But at this moment, he couldn't refute, so he could only be angry. His chest kept rising and falling, like an ugly toad. The Lin family is incredible, this spiritual light. Of course it's incredible, this swordsmanship that he has comprehended. I'm afraid it won't take a few years for him to have a smooth road in the swordsmanship one. Of course, he is still a registered disciple of Zixuan Sanren. On the viewing platform, people began to talk about it, and they were full of praise. Although they had contempt before, they didn't mock him, but now they spoke with praise. For cultivators, they have never been stingy with their praise for the strong. They have never mocked before, and it won't seem abrupt at this time, let alone blush. Their spiritual light is decreasing. Someone else discovered a shocking scene. Maybe the spiritual light of the Lin family cultivator is too dazzling. Someone hesitated and said a guess. But the next moment, Wan Qing's spiritual platform suddenly became dim and on the verge of disappearing. Someone over there has finished his comprehension. It's Wan Qing from the Wanjian sect. At this moment, Wan Wuan wanted to find a hole in the ground to crawl into. The disappearance of spiritual light means the end of comprehension. Of course, this does not mean that the comprehension is complete and successful in advance, but it is a manifestation of poor comprehension, just like Lin Shiming can't start for a long time. Although Wan Wuan came to the Spirit Beast sect for the first time, they didn't have the face to say that this was the completion of comprehension. Wang Qing ended, and the other cultivators were still comprehension. And Lin Shiming at this moment didn't know what the outside world was talking about. At this moment, his eyes were full of various sword grasses that cut the sky. The entire sky, like a falling curtain, was torn apart and broken by grasses. Thunder roared in the sky, as if to punish the sword grass, but the next moment, it was chopped apart by countless grass swords. The thunder was silent, turning into broken light, with only sword marks hanging in the sky. The extremely strong sword intent made Lin Shiming feel as if he was in a sword tomb. The sword intent in his mind became clearer and clearer, and the sword seeds of the grass sword formula also grew rapidly like bamboo shoots after a spring rain. This sword will cut the sky. A mysterious voice rang in his mind, like the sound of the avenue, which was passed on for a long time and could not be shaken off. The next moment, many grass swords began to move away, like a shrunken starry sky, and those sword grasses turned into light spots. Finally, look again. A larger light grass swayed in the wind. Every flutter was a sword strike. This time, it cut a boundless starry sky. Strike! The next moment, the picture disappeared, and Lin Shiming returned to the spiritual platform. At this moment, he solidified his body again, but was surprised by the strong sword intent in his body, which was almost condensed into substance, and he could faintly see the spiritual grass flowing. He had felt this kind of sword intent in his seventh uncle, but the sword intent in his body was still a little empty and had not condensed into a substantial sword light. Is it not far from the sword light taking shape? Lin Shiming murmured in great surprise. You know, before this, his understanding of sword intent was only at the seed stage. But now, the sword intent was surging, and his whole body was like a sword grass that could cut the sky, ready to strike at any time. Of course, unlike the blue lotus sword light of his seventh uncle, his grass sword technique paid more attention to the power of a sword. Lin Shiming tried hard to control the sword light and retract the sword intent, and control it all in the sword grass in his body. At the same time, he looked at the root of deduction in his mind. I saw that the half-inch root was glowing at this moment. This spiritual root is his biggest gain. Of course, if he only uses the root of deduction, the deduction effect is much less than that of the white fir spiritual tree. Moreover, he found that the deduction light will be consumed and cannot last forever. Lin Shiming's consciousness moved, and the root of deduction slowly went dormant. The next moment, it no longer emitted light, but was restrained in the sea of consciousness. He stood up, but found that the other 8 people had already understood it at some point. Several people seemed extremely excited and were obviously very satisfied with the results of their understanding. Of course, Wang Qing was the exception, and his face was a little ugly at the moment. As the 9 people finished their understanding, 9 branches appeared again in the body of the white fir spiritual tree, sending the 9 people down from the spiritual tree one by one. Sanai Sanren also stood up and took the 9 people out. Little friend Lin, I wonder if we can move over and talk later. Lin Shiming's expression changed, and he felt a voice transmission in his mind, and then looked at Sanai Sanren's back. The latter was still leading the way normally. At this moment, Lin Shiming was of course nervous. He didn't know if Sanai Sanren had met everyone. But he couldn't refuse. Lin Shiming nodded in response. At this moment, he felt a little regretful, but at the same time, he thought that of course the white fir spirit tree was in seclusion and definitely didn't know what he had done, otherwise the white fir spirit tree would not sit there and let him do whatever he wanted. Sanai Sanren brought 9 people to a hall and then spoke. My fellow disciples, you have obtained the 9 leaves of enlightenment of our sect. Now the matter of the demon sect has come to an end, but you still need to complete a task for our sect within your ability. This will be notified to all Taoist friends within the next 10 years. Sanai Sanren said lightly. Then he handed over the spiritual contract that belonged to each sect and asked several people to sign it. Lin Shiming took the spiritual contract and found that it was the Kingsun spiritual contract. There were no other restrictions on the contract except for one thing, so Lin Shiming nodded and signed it. Then Sanai Sanren waved his hand, and the 9 people retreated one by one. Only Lin Shiming stopped at this moment with some hesitation. He did not expect that Sanai Sanren would really leave him alone. At this moment, his mind was thinking rapidly, and he went through the entire enlightenment process. As long as he was discovered, it would definitely be that he had exposed his feet. At this moment, in front of this old antique, he must know what he missed, so as to find a chance. Little friend of the Lin family, I wonder if you have joined the sect. Sanai Sanran asked lightly. This opening made Lin Shiming feel a little bitter. To reply to Senior Sanran, Shiming is a registered disciple of Zixuan Sanran. Lin Shiming answered honestly, and at the same time, his heart became more anxious. At this moment, Sanai Sanran invited him to join the Spirit Beast sect, which was not a good thing. At this time, if it were an ordinary Sanran, he might still be able to refuse with righteous words as a registered disciple of Zixuan Sanran, but Sanai Sanran was obviously as powerful as Zixuan Sanran, and had a considerable status in the Spirit Beast sect. Oh, so that's it. Then can you tell me why you can attract the spiritual light of enlightenment? Chapter 215 Rescue. Lin Shiming was extremely frightened and confused at the moment. At this moment, Sanai Sanran's eyes were sharp, and a mysterious purple mansion aura emerged inadvertently. It was like 10 mountains pressing down, constantly hitting his inner defense line. Under that momentum, his breathing became rapid, and his face turned a little red. He dared to guarantee that if his answer contained a little doubt or other emotions, Sanai Sanran would definitely attack him. Even if it was not a soul search, he would use the soul-asking talisman. Even if his answer was extremely perfect, he might be detained by Sanai Sanran. Immortal cultivators explore the truth, and most of them use every possible means. Sanai Sanran, a purple mansion cultivator, would not care about the thoughts and hatred of Lin Shiming, a foundation-building cultivator. At this anxious moment, another figure appeared in the hall, and the voice came first. G is still looking for my disciple, but I didn't expect to see you here. Thank you, Brother Sanai, for guiding me in your busy schedule. The word guide was like thunder, deafening. The purple robe and kind face were like a peerless immortal sword that had not been unsheathed, sharp but not without meaning. At this moment, Zixuan Sanran also became Lin Shiming's life-saving straw. Sanai Sanran's face changed involuntarily, and it was a little scary. He didn't expect that Zixuan Sanran would arrive so soon. As for Brother Sanai's question, G can answer it. My disciple has a hidden wood attribute spirit body and a strong understanding. It is naturally not a problem for him to communicate with the enlightenment of the white fir tree. Zixuan Sanran spoke again. I don't know if you have any other questions. Master Xianjian is also a person who is willing to answer questions. Zixuan Sanran spoke again and even mentioned Xianjian's Henrun. Sanai Sanran's face suddenly became more ugly again, and he looked at Lin Shiming again. Lin Shiming also nodded quickly. At this moment, he was not acting at all. In his opinion, he had an invisible wood-attributed spirit body, and he only needed to wait for the purple mansion to have a small magical power. Of course, at this moment, he even speculated that the root of deduction might be a part of his spirit body. Otherwise, how could the Spirit Beast sect not be able to obtain the secret of the white fir spirit tree for so many years? Haha, Brother G, don't blame me. Sanai is just the first time I have seen such a genius in swordsmanship. I really want to accept him as a disciple. Since he is Brother G's beloved disciple, Sanai apologizes here. Sanai Sanran bowed repeatedly. Then he walked to a table in the hall, took out a teapot, and invited him with a smile. Brother G, Sanai happens to have a pot of 4th grade ancient tea here, why don't we taste it together? Zixuan Sanran also smiled and walked to the side and sat down, then took out an exquisite spiritual wooden box. Very good, G also has a 4th grade spiritual tea, ZINT. The two of them quickly began to pour tea, and Lin Shiming also stood beside Zixuan Sanran. Sanai Sanran poured ancient tea for Zixuan Sanran. As a junior, Lin Shiming picked up ZINT and poured tea for the two elders. Then he listened to the two of them tasting tea and chatting. It was like they had known each other for many years, talking about interesting things 100 years ago, with harmonious faces, and toasting cups, which was enviable. Lin Shiming was not surprised by the scene. Immortal cultivators are the most impermanent, and without conflicts of interest, they are all respected old predecessors. Of course, at this moment, he was smelling the fragrance of tea next to him, and he felt that the true essence in his body began to surge. If he took a sip, maybe his cultivation would jump a little. The best tea he had ever drunk was only a 3rd-level spiritual tea, but the tea mist in front of him was far better than before. The repeated light purple mist was fascinating. He couldn't help but sigh that it was indeed a 4th-level spiritual tea. The mystery was hard to describe. Of course, at this moment, he also thought of his Minxin tea tree. With a wood spirit liquid, his Minxin tea tree could become a 3rd-level spiritual tree, and the effect and tea taste would definitely be better. After tasting the tea, Zixu and Sanren also took Lin Shiming to say goodbye and leave. Zixu and Sanren didn't say anything, so Lin Shiming could only follow him. The two walked slowly all the way to Zixu and Sanren's cave. Then Zixu and Sanren sat down in the hall. How is the sword technique practice? Reply to Master, the sword intent is complete. Lin Shiming waved his hand and pointed to the sky. A sword light condensed, and the sword intent was overwhelming, pointing directly to the void. And there were obviously spiritual herbs in the sword light, almost taking shape. Good, good, good. Not bad. Zixu and Sanren said 3 good words in a row, and then said the word not bad, smiling a lot. Shiming, I accepted you as my disciple because of your ancestors Hanxing and your 7th uncle's desperate request. But it was because of that move that you have the beautiful jade now. I wonder if you are willing to worship me as your master and enter the sect to practice. Not only can you choose any technique, but I will also protect your Lin family for 50 years. With your spiritual body and talent, it is possible that you will achieve golden elixir soon. Lin Shiming was a little stunned this time. He didn't expect Zixu and Sanren to want to accept him as his personal disciple. Thank you for your kindness, Master, but Shiming has been protected by the family since he was a child, and has served as the head of the family. He has also made a vow in front of the ancestors' spirit to carry forward the family. This matter. Lin Shiming finished answering and bowed his head deeply. The answer is really the same as Xianzi. Zixu and Sanren shook his sleeves, a little bit dissatisfied, and took another sip of spiritual tea. Since the first one doesn't work, I won't hide it from you. You should know the matter of Xianzi. Taking out the spiritual sword from the 10,000 swords tomb not only gives you a portion of the purple palace jade liquid, but also a 4th level spiritual fruit, the longevity fruit, which can increase your lifespan by 50 years. As soon as Zixu and Sanren finished speaking, Lin Shiming was shocked. At the same time, his eyes also shone. He was shocked because of Zixu and Sanren's frankness. At the same time, if he had hesitated to enter the Zuanpan secret realm before, he was determined now. They still have the recipe for the purple palace jade liquid, but the latter longevity fruit can extend the life of the 7th uncle and help him have a chance to enter the purple palace. Of course, he also knows what the spiritual sword means. But with the system prompt, he has the confidence to make the right judgment. Thank you, Master. Lin Shiming saluted again. Whether it works or not, Master will protect your Lin family for 50 years. Seeing that Lin Shiming had no intention of refusing, Zixu and Sanren also nodded. If there is nothing else, go down. They must be waiting anxiously. Yes, Master. Lin Shiming saluted again. Well, by the way, there is still a small amount of spiritual tea here, you can take it too. Lin Shiming was instantly overjoyed. He did not expect that Zixu and Sanren would actually give him the remaining small amount of 4th level Zayin tea. These teas may be less precious to Zixu Sanren, but for Lin Shiming, these spiritual teas can at least save him several years of hard training. Lin Shiming put away the jade box containing the spiritual tea with great solemnity, and then left the cave. Chapter 216 The Secret of the Secret Realm. Coming out of the Purple Mansion cave, walking to the foot of the mountain, they ran into Lin Xianzi and Lin Haoyin. Several people were obviously relieved at this time. There was finally joy in their eyes. From the initial disappointment, to the excitement later, and then to the worry after being told that Lin Shiming was left alone. 7th uncle, father, senior brother made you worried? Lin Shiming bowed one by one, and seeing the expressions of the 3 people, how could he not know that the 3 people in front of him were concerned from the heart? Okay, it's good that you are okay. Lin Haoyin was also relieved. Lin Xianzi also nodded. Senior brother, Shiming can have this opportunity this time. Thanks to senior brother's opportunity, why don't we go to Laiyu Tower today and try the spiritual feast of Jinhui City? Lin Shiming invited warmly. In addition, the war came to an end, and Xian was also a little happy at this moment, so he simply agreed. Several people went together, and on the way, Lin Haoyin also talked about the interesting things of Wan Wuan and Wan Qing. After the 2 of them finished their enlightenment, Wan Qing questioned the steward of the spiritual beast sect, but was rejected by the latter, and finally left in disgrace. Lin Shiming also laughed it off. He didn't expect that Wan Qing didn't complain to Sanai Sanren, but complained to the steward instead. However, Wan Qing probably thought that he was not good enough at first. After hearing Wan Wuan's statement, he asked tentatively for the sake of face. The steward had great confidence in the white for spiritual tree of his own sect, so how could he listen to his nonsense? It would be strange if he could give him a good face. After arriving at Lin Yi Tower, Lin Shiming also opened 2 private rooms, one for Lin Shiming and other for foundation building cultivators, and the rest for Lin Yuking and other key training cultivators. The food in Lin Yi Tower on the side of the spiritual beast sect is richer than that in Kingston City, and there are many more kinds of spiritual food. Although the 4 people have been fasting for many years, they are also very interested in this kind of spiritual food full of spiritual energy. Even some 3rd-level spiritual food is very helpful to their current cultivation. Seeing that the 3 elders in front of him had finished their meals, Lin Shiming took out a jade box without hesitation. As soon as the jade box came out, the sky was full of infinite light, and a clear and mellow tea fragrance filled the whole room. He compared all the spiritual food on the table. This is. Xian's eyes lit up, and then he was extremely shocked. This is the spiritual tea that master gave us, Xian tea. Lin Shiming smiled faintly. Then he took out a 3rd-level spiritual water, boiled it, sprinkled just the right amount of spiritual tea, and shook it gently in the teapot. Shiming, this tea is too precious. If you are stuck in the bottleneck of foundation building, drinking this tea can loosen the bottleneck by 3 points. Lin Xianxi and Lin Haoyun didn't realize anything yet, they just felt that the spiritual tea was amazing and accompanied by green light. But Xian knew that this Xian tea was not only a 4th-level spiritual tea, but also only had Xianjian peak of Kingshan sect. This kind of spiritual tea, even Zixuan Sanrun, didn't have much share in 10 years. Let's drink my spiritual tea. Xian carefully took out another tea box. The tea in it also had an extraordinary aroma, but it was obviously inferior to the purple cloud tea in terms of spiritual energy and tea fragrance. Brother, there is not much purple cloud tea, and it is useless to keep it. Let's taste it together. Besides, this is a reward from master for us to get a quota. Lin Shiming shook his head and poured a cup for Xian, followed by his 7th uncle, his father, and finally poured a cup for himself. Xian helped a lot in this enlightenment conference. In addition, he also thought that he owed Xian some favors for the dragon blood pill. Seeing that the tea was brewed, Xian didn't say much, but was looking forward to it. Several people held the tea together and almost picked it up at the same time, using tea instead of wine. When the 3 of them started, Lin Shiming also took a sip of the spiritual tea. The tea fragrance was long-lasting and lingering on the lips and teeth. And he only felt an amazing spiritual energy rushing into his lungs, and then spread all over his body. At this moment, the whole body's true energy was like a burning stove, and the Purple Wood Heart Sutra could not help but operate automatically. Several people were extremely shocked and hurriedly practiced their skills to refine the spiritual tea. The 4th-level spiritual tea was far beyond their imagination. Even a small sip of it took 3 or 4 hours. Lin Shiming, Lin Xianxi and Xian were almost awake, but Lin Haoyun still had his eyes closed, obviously still refining. Brother, Shiming is still a little confused about the trip to the Zhuanpan secret realm 5 years later. I wonder if you can help me solve my confusion. After tasting the tea, Lin Shiming also asked about the business. Although he had heard a lot about the Zhuanpan secret realm, he still had some knowledge of it. When Xian heard this, Song Huan's expression also frowned a little, and then he said softly, Shiming, since you ask this, it must be the master who invited you to enter, so senior brother will not hide it from you. There are actually 4 Zhuan-grade secret realms controlled by our Kingshan sect. Xianjianfeng, Shenzhifeng, and Zhuantafeng each control 1. However, these 3 Zhuan-grade secret realms are not open to the public, and the last Zhuan-grade secret realm is the focus, and it is also the opportunity for the cultivators in your family to enter. At the same time, this secret realm 5 years later, the 3 major sects may all enter. This last Zhuan-grade secret realm, it can even be said that it cannot be regarded as a Zhuan-grade secret realm, but a half-Earth-grade secret realm, or a secret realm of the big world. Because there is a small world connected to this secret realm. After these words came out, Lin Xianxi and Lin Shiming's eyes tightened. There are 4-level purple mansion monsters in the small world, and there are more than 1. The most important thing is that our purple mansion cultivators cannot enter. After these words came out, Lin Shiming, Lin Xianxi and others finally understood why Xian had such an expression. In such a small world, if you are not careful enough, you may not be able to obtain treasures, and it will be difficult to walk out alive. Of course, if you act carefully, you will be safe and sound, and the harvest will be much more than normal. But, as family members, most of them are registered disciples of Purple Mansion cultivators. They enter the secret realm with tasks, and if they want to obtain real treasures, they almost have to enter the small world. The income of sect disciples needs to be handed over to the sect, and the income of registered disciples is handed over to their respective Purple Mansion masters. Xian introduced one by one, and Lin Shiming also listened very seriously. He was bound to go to this mysterious secret realm. At the same time, he had a big advantage. He had a cave world, and when the treasures were harvested, he could keep a large part of them for himself. Especially the main medicine of Zifu Yui, which is the biggest reason why he injected the family's 4th level spiritual vein into the cave world, to facilitate the transplantation of spiritual medicine. And the 10,000 Swords tomb was also in front of him, and it finally became clearer. According to the analysis of the senior leaders of Kingsun sect, that small world is the ruins of the Yuanying sect, and the 10,000 Swords tomb is the Kangjian mountain of the Yuanying sect. But for some reason, the sect was destroyed, leaving only a passage leading to the Zhuanpan secret realm. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217 Lin Shitao's Choice. The secrets of the Zhuanpan secret realm shocked Lin Shiming at the moment. Moreover, he had a vague guess in his heart that the battle between the righteous and the evil in Zhao and Shu also involved the Zhuanpan secret realm. However, he could not make a final conclusion about the secrets of the high level. But he must make full preparations for this secret realm. After the spiritual feast, Xian also said goodbye. The monks of the Kingsun sect had already begun to retreat. As a deacon, he had a lot of things to do. The Lin family also had to start sorting out the harvest and return to Fangmu Mountain in Yunzhao. It was more than half an hour after Xian left that Lin Haoyun woke up. He saw that his spiritual power began to fluctuate, which made Lin Xianzi and Lin Shiming very happy. This fluctuation of spiritual power represented that Lin Haoyun's true essence finally began to condense. The middle stage of foundation building takes 5 years at the shortest and 10 years at the longest. Moreover, you must know that the Lin family has a lot of high-quality spiritual stones at the moment. As long as they return to Fangmu Mountain, Lin Haoyun can retreat and seek a breakthrough. I'm sorry to make you laugh at my 7th uncle. Lin Haoyun was embarrassed when he saw that he had been in seclusion for so long. 4 cultivators were eating together, but he was practicing alone in seclusion. What's there to be embarrassed about? This 4th level spiritual tea is indeed very effective. Go back and practice with the spiritual stones, and strive to break through the middle stage of foundation building as soon as possible. Lin Xianzi said nonchalantly, and then he couldn't help but look at Lin Shiming more. Because they both took a cup of spiritual tea, he woke up at the same time as Lin Shiming. But he was a little suspicious that Lin Shiming had already woken up, just to save face for his 7th uncle. Shiming, go and deal with the things that the family wants to buy. We will set off to return to the Lin family in 10 days. Lin Xianzi said. Seeing this, Lin Shiming also nodded in agreement. The Lin family had 40 people this time, but only less than 15 more left, which can be said to be a tragic victory. But the gains were actually not small. First of all, he broke through the middle stage of foundation building, and Lin Haoyun also had the tendency to break through the middle stage of foundation building. The most important thing was that there were 3 dragon blood pills left this time. If Lin Haoxiao can break through the foundation building stage, then some of the later generations of the family will also be able to break through the foundation building stage. In addition, Lin Shitai and Lin Haoyi, 2 potential foundation building seeds, can also break through at any time. What surprised him was that Lei Zhuan also broke through the 9th level of key training at some point and began to polish his spiritual energy. As a merit in cultivator, he performed well that time, and the Lin family also had to prepare foundation building pills for him. Now the 3 foundation building pills auctioned this time still seem insufficient. The remaining survivors, such as Lin Xian, Lin Haoyun, etc., have all broken through a small level. When the news of leaving came out, the Lin family simply gave all the cultivators a day off, allowing them to buy whatever they needed in Jidai City. Lin Shiming even bought a large number of rare spiritual medicine seeds from the local Ling Xiao sect. Most of these seeds are naturally cultivated by the family's spiritual plant masters, and a small part is cultivated by himself. He now needs to cultivate a lot of spiritual plants, including the small magical tree, the golden thunder bamboo, the heavenly spiritual fruit tree, the poisonous dragon vine, the purple gold vine, the green snake vine, and the newly obtained 3-element forging god flower. Half a month later, a third-level high-quality spiritual boat slowly rose from Jiwai City and headed northwest. Fangmu Mountain was shrouded in clouds and mist. Lin Shiming sat on the spiritual boat, facing the strong wind, and felt that the wind seemed friendly. Lin Shiyi, Lin Haoxiao, Lin Haoyong and others all arrived at the edge of the spiritual boat. After all, seeing thousands of mountains and rivers is not as good as Fangmu Mountain. Even the seventh uncle, Lin Xianzi, walked out of the spiritual boat with a smile on his lips. Shiming, open the spiritual cover of the entire spiritual boat, so that everyone can breathe the spiritual energy of the clan mountain. Okay. Lin Shiming agreed with a smile. As the spiritual cover opened, the strong wind roared in, and several people of the Shi family opened their hands. With the appearance of the spirit boat, the monks on Fangmu Mountain also obviously felt it, and saw the layers of clouds and mist opening up. Everything on Fangmu Mountain appeared in front of everyone. The colorful peach blossoms were blooming all over the hillside, and one after another, the tribesmen shuttled through the spirit mountain. The huge Kinglian lake was surging with red spirit fish at this moment, and many monks were still catching red spirit fish, while on the side, the blood crocodile was quietly lurking under the lake. In the martial arts field, one after another, young men practiced Taoism. They were like the rising sun of the eastern mountains, bringing infinite vitality to the entire mountain range. Surprisingly, there were very few high-level monks on Fangmu Mountain. Lin Haoyong was gone, Lin Yi was gone, and Lin Shitao was gone. And the next moment, Lin Haoxun flew out. At this moment, Lin Haoxun's face was full of vicissitudes, and the biggest change was his white hair, which looked quite old. Failed. Lin Shiming and others instantly saw Lin Haoxun's aura. He was still in the late stage of key training, and his spiritual energy was also extremely condensed, but after all, he was not at the foundation building stage. The failure of the foundation building breakthrough dealt him a heavy blow. Seventh uncle, ninth brother, head of the family. Lin Haoxun greeted them one by one, but his tone was obviously less confident than before. He failed to break through, and he is now nearly 60 years old. Not to mention recovering from his injuries, the family cannot use new foundation building pills on him. Where is the fifth uncle? Lin Shiming asked. When he left, he handed over everything in Lingnan County to his eldest brother Lin Shiji, and everything in Fangmu Mountain was handed over to his fifth uncle, Lin Haoyong. A group of gold-eating rats appeared in the family's gold, iron and stone mines, among which there are several third-level spirit rats, and the number of spirit rats is increasing, threatening the family mortals in Lingnan Mountain. Fifth uncle and fourth uncle have already gone. Seventh uncle, let me go on this matter. Lin Shiming looked at Lin Xianzi and said, now that the war is over, the Lin family will begin to develop vigorously, and the gold, iron and stone mines are undoubtedly a major source of income for the Lin family, and naturally cannot be harmed by a group of unintelligent gold-eating rats. Yes. Lin Xianzi nodded. Master, you have broken through to the middle stage of foundation building. Lin Haoxun was obviously very surprised. You should know that Lin Shiji, a cultivator with 2 spiritual roots, is only at the peak of the early stage of foundation building and has just started to condense true essence. Yes. Fortunately, I broke through. Lin Shiming nodded. He was also quite satisfied with his trip. Not only did he comprehend the root of deduction, but also the grass sword tactics and grass sword meaning. In addition, he gained the cave world, several third-level top-grade magic tools, and a large number of spirit stones. By the way, Master, go and see Shi Tao. Lin Haoxun suddenly thought of something. What's wrong with Shi Tao? Lin Shiming was inexplicably troubled at this moment. Shi Tao chose to retreat to build a foundation without using the foundation pill. What, isn't this nonsense? Lin Shiming was a little out of breath for a while, and hurriedly asked Lin Shitao where he was in retreat. Lin Xianzi and Lin Haoyong also looked a little ugly. Lin Shitao is a second-level spiritual root cultivator. He uses the foundation building pill to build a foundation cultivator, but he has to take risks. You know, Lin Shitao is only 35 years old now. If he fails without the foundation building pill, he is very likely to perish. Chapter 218 The Wood Demon Who Loves to Watch Thunder. In the pavilion of the Kinglian Pond, Lin Shiming, Lin Xianci and Lin Hao It stood together. Next to Lin Shiming's cave on Kinglian Mountain, there was a new cave. The three huge characters of Tao Qijie were particularly eye-catching. The cave was extremely quiet, and the spiritual power was not prominent. However, several people could still feel the faint vitality inside, knowing that Lin Shitao had not yet reached a breakthrough. Uncle 11, Shitao has been in seclusion for a few years. Lin Shiming asked worriedly. 2 years. Lin Haoxuan said carefully on the side. It's really nonsense. How can you break through without a foundation building pill? Lin Xianci was also a little angry at this moment. Lin Haoxuan was even more terrified. In the entire Fangmu Mountain, there was no one of the Yu generation, and he was the oldest of the Hao generation. He didn't stop it, so it was naturally his fault. At this moment, Lin Haoxuan was also full of regret. The failure of the foundation building at that time made him disappear for a long time, and he had no intention of managing the family affairs. Instead, Lin Shitao, who broke through the 9th level of key training, took on the operation of the entire family and also refined pills. Finally, because the family lacked foundation building cultivators, they chose to retreat without foundation building pills. When he found out, Lin Shitao had already retreated, and it was too late for him to stop her. Please punish me, Uncle 7th, the head of the family. Lin Haoxuan knelt down suddenly, destroying a 2nd level spiritual root cultivator for the family. This cultivator might also be the family's true 3rd level alchemist. At that time, he, Lin Haoxuan, would be the real sinner. Uncle 11, get up, I believe in her. Lin Shiming suddenly spoke, and everyone looked at him. But they found that Lin Shiming's eyes were particularly firm and serious at this moment. When I brought her from Taohu town, I thought she was not that strong. Lin Shiming murmured to himself. Then he thought of Lin Shitao's choice to take care of Taohu forest, and finally became an alchemist, and even became the big sister of all alchemy apprentices. The first female cultivator of the Shi character generation has been achieved. Lin Shiming walked to the pavilion. There was no chessboard on the stone table. When he left the mountain more than 10 years ago, the chessboard was put away by his 7th uncle. Lin Shiming then took out a harp and began to play it. Just like Lin Shitao played the harp for him to practice, today he played the harp to open the way for her. The sound of the harp was not very pleasant. After all, he was just a second-rate person. But his harp sound contained his great way and his desire for immortality. Lin Shiming himself did not realize that at this moment, the root of his deduction began to automatically emit spiritual light, bathing him in spiritual light. It made his harp sound more meaningful. At this moment, even Lin Xianci was quite moved. They could not understand or hear it, but they were shocked by the rhyme of the Tao in it. The sound of the harp spread far and sounded for a long time. In the evening, the sky gradually darkened. Just like the peach blossoms gradually fell that day. And in the cave, suddenly, a spiritual power rolled out. Shitao is going to succeed. Everyone was overjoyed. Lin Shiming also stopped, and a song appeared in his mind. This song contained his heart of seeking the truth. It was also the spiritual power of the root of deduction. What made him laugh and cry was that this song had exhausted all the deduction power of his root of deduction. You know, he didn't use his deduction power at the spiritual platform of enlightenment. It would take at least several years for these deduction powers to recover. Let's call this song No Regrets for Asking the Way. Lin Shiming shook his head slightly and continued to look into the depths of the cave. Lin Shitao's spiritual power was getting stronger and stronger. A spiritual power unique to the true essence came out, and everyone's hearts were finally relieved. For cultivators under the age of 60, the most difficult thing to break through the foundation is to condense the true essence. At this moment, the true essence is formed, and there is no problem with the blood and key. 7th uncle, I will set off for Lingnan County now. I'll leave Shitao here to my 7th uncle. Lin Shiming put away the piano and stood up. No problem. Go to Lingnan County to kill rats. Take Haoxuan with you. Lin Xianci nodded, but after looking at Lin Haoxuan, he added. It was obvious that Lin Xianci was a little dissatisfied with Lin Haoxuan. Otherwise, as a 3rd-level alchemist, it would not be his turn to kill rats now. Lin Haoxuan naturally had no complaints, because he was wrong first. Lin Shiming didn't say much, but he went back to the cave first and put the small magical tree, the shining fruit tree and the golden thunder bamboo into the cave world. What made him very happy was that the small magical tree was a little taller at this moment, and it was obviously growing well. The shining fruit tree was also fatally about to bloom. I'm afraid it will bear fruit once it is cultivated for another 10 years. There is also the golden thunder bamboo, which has changed a lot. At this time, the golden thunder bamboo is already 2 or 3 meters high, and it is obviously more than 30 years old. After confirming that all the spiritual plants were fine, Lin Shiming looked at the wood demon and the minx and tea tree. The wood demon was so leisurely at this moment, and the big tree face looked much younger. When Lin Shiming went in, he found that the latter had moved out a small wooden squat, occupied a lot of spiritual soil, sucked the spiritual veins of the entire Fangmu mountain, and watched the lightning on the golden thunder bamboo flashing leisurely. Not only did he make a sound that Lin Shiming couldn't understand, but he was obviously a little surprised to see Lin Shiming coming back, but he soon became casual. He signed a spiritual contract with Lin Shiming and was not afraid of him at this moment. Lin Shiming was also full of strange curiosity about this tea tree that watched the thunder, but he still took the ladder into the cave world. The minx and tea tree was obviously not used to moving, but after seeing the golden thunder bamboo also moved in, it continued to watch the lightning of the golden thunder bamboo. Lin Shiming was quite speechless for a while. Lin Shiming took out the wood soul liquid, and the tea tree demon looked over with his eyes, and his spiritual consciousness fluctuated with a burst of desire. Lin Shiming didn't hesitate and gave the wood soul liquid to the latter. The latter drank it in one gulp, just like a cow chewing a peony, and then continued to look at the golden thunder bamboo as if nothing had happened. He was still not interested in other things. Even when Lin Shiming asked for his natal spiritual tea, the latter pointed in a direction, and saw that there were already a lot of natal spiritual tea on its body, all of which were stored in the past 10 years. Lin Shiming was even more confused, but thinking of the family's gold and iron mines, he could not delay and left the cave world. When he arrived at the family martial arts hall, he found that Lin Yuking, Lin Haoxun, Lin Shiyi, Lin Haowei and Lin Haoxiao were all there, almost all of them who returned from the war this time. In addition to Lin Haoxun, there was also Lin Shili, the youngest of the Shi generation. Lin Yuking laughed even more, because at this moment, Lin Shili was at the 8th level of key training. At the age of 22, he was at the 8th level of key training, not much inferior to Lin Shiming. He was an absolute genius of the Lin family, and he was also a thunder spirit root. This spirit root is worthy of being an alien spirit root only below the heavenly spirit root, and the talent is too strong. With the speed of cultivation, I am afraid that he can break through the foundation before the age of 30. Chapter 219 Spiritual Tea Changes. Qinghai Mountain Range, Qingshi Ridge. In late spring, the white camellia flowers all over the mountain make the entire mountain full of rocks more colorful. Bees are flying around in the flowers, extremely busy. At this moment, under the mountain, several monks rushed into a tunnel, but suddenly found that the monks who were mining had fallen down, and at the exit, there was a huge rat hole. It was Lin Shiji, Lin Yudi, Lin Haoyong and other Lin family members. Several people's faces were obviously not very good, especially Lin Shiji, who clenched his fists at this moment. Fifth uncle, we must kill the gold-eating rat king, otherwise mining must be stopped. Yet, Lin Haoyong also nodded, but he felt a headache when he thought that the third-level middle-grade demon rat did not confront them head-on. At the beginning, this group of gold-eating rats only stole the gold, iron and stone veins. What's hateful is that after they killed several second-level key-training demon rats, the gold-eating rat king actually took the demon rats to retaliate against their monks. You should know that the gold, iron and stone veins are extremely important, so the Lin family arranged for the disciples in the early stage of key training to mine. Not only were they unable to mine safely because of these gold-eating rats, but many family monks also died. However, these gold-eating rats were extremely cunning. They never met with the foundation-building monks. They brought their rats and grandsons with them. Every time they stole food and bit the key-refining disciples, they ran away. And there was no pattern at all. Even if the formation covered it, it would be bitten to pieces by the indestructible teeth of the gold-eating rats and then sneak in. And in this underground, the spiritual consciousness itself was greatly affected. It's a pity that Shi Ming is not here, otherwise he and 2 third-level monsters would definitely kill this monster rat. Lin Shiji couldn't help but sigh and thought of someone. It was one thing that they couldn't catch up with a gold-eating rat king, and on the other hand, they couldn't instantly kill the third-level gold-eating rat king. Although this rat king was not good at attacking, its defense was extremely amazing. Both of them were in the early stage of foundation building, and they didn't even have the strength to keep it, nor could they form a battle formation. In the void, a spiritual light came. Lin Xiaoyang took the spiritual light, which was the sound transmission talisman. Good boy, you actually got it right. Lin Xiaoyang couldn't help but smile, and then led a few people to walk towards the spacious mine cave, and soon arrived at a hall. This hall has been expanded a lot compared to before, and is now named Shiling Cave. At the entrance of Shiling Cave, Lin Shiming and his group were waiting on the side. Fifth uncle, big brother. Lin Shiming shouted with a smile. After more than 10 years, big brother Lin Shiji is still the same, and fifth uncle is even more charming. Head of the family. Lin Haoyang and Lin Shiji also hurriedly replied, and then said to Lin Yuking, Uncle. Grandpa. Let's go in and talk. Lin Haoyang led everyone into a stone room in the stone hall, and Lin Shiming also visited this underground stone cave again. Speaking of which, this stone cave was discovered by him and the golden-winged mantis at that time. The stone pool in the middle is now planted with many spiritual flowers. Shiming, you came just in time. That gold-eating rat king is too annoying. The three of us will be able to kill it when the time comes. Lin Haoyang said excitedly, but the next moment, he found that Lin Shiming's spiritual power was much greater than before, and he could not see through his cultivation. Shiming, are you in the middle stage of foundation building? Lucky. Lin Shiming cupped his hands, and suddenly several people in the venue sighed, and Lin Shiji was even more envious. You know, he has 2 spiritual roots, and now it will take some time for him to condense his true essence and break through the middle stage of foundation building. And Lin Haoyang, breaking through the foundation building, seemed to have exhausted all his talents, and at this moment he was just consolidating in the early stage of foundation building. That's even more of a problem. Lin Haoyang was overjoyed, and then he said something with a serious expression, Shiming, this time a third-level gold-eating rat appeared. I suspect that there may be a third-level gold ironstone mine in the ore vein below. It's a pity that I can't arrange for monks to explore. Lin Shiming nodded. From what Wu Bo said, it is really possible that there is a third-level gold ironstone, otherwise it would not attract the third-level gold-eating rat. Wu Bo, since the gold-eating rat was driven away by you today, let's rest for a while. Lin Shiming spoke again, and then took out the rare spiritual tea collected from the Minxin tea tree. Then, he brewed a pot for all the key training monks. There are also many Minxin tea trees on Fangmu Mountain. Speaking of it, they were brought back by Lin Haoyi and Lin Shitao. It's just that the Minxin tea tree king has been in Lin Shiming's cave, and no one has picked it. The tea fragrance of Minxin tea is extremely strong, and as a spiritual tea from the tea king tree, it is even more obvious. Moreover, the tea tree demon had been observing the golden thunder bamboo, and there was an indescribable difference in the spiritual tea. Thank you, Patriarch. Lin Haoxun, Lin Xiaoyan, Lin Shili, Lin Haoyang and others all thanked him. Surprisingly, Lin Shiming did not point for the 2 foundation building cultivators, Lin Haoyang and Lin Shiji. The 2 people's expressions did not change. After all, they were now in the foundation building stage, and drinking the second-level spiritual tea would not have a great effect. They just felt that their hands were a little empty for a while. Don't worry, Uncle Wu, big brother, you have it too. Lin Shiming smiled lightly, and then took out a jade box. He brewed a new pot of spiritual tea again. The purple tea leaves fell, and it felt that the spiritual energy in the whole hall began to surge, and the fragrance of the tea made the whole air full of tea fragrance. What is this? The 2 people's expressions moved, and they felt that their breathing was a little hurried. The 4th-level spiritual tea rewarded by Zixu and Sanrun. Lin Shiming answered calmly. There is not much purple cloud tea, so it can only be brewed twice. Lin Shiming had already taken it once last time, and the effect was very good. His father even began to condense his true essence. Because of this, he felt that this purple cloud tea was very helpful for condensing his true essence. This is too precious. Lin Haoyang felt a little hurried when he spoke, and then he wanted to get the teapot of Minxin tea. 5th uncle, this is reserved for you. My father and 7th uncle have drunk it. Lin Shiming smiled and continued to pour twice as much for the 2. After the 2 drank it, They immediately looked nervous and began to meditate on the spot. Lin Shiming also poured himself a cup and drank it in one gulp. The fragrance of tea was still overflowing, but at this moment, Lin Shiming also found that the effect of the second sip was a little worse, and there was no need to refine it immediately, but it was also very helpful for cultivation. If it was fully refined, it could save several years of hard practice. The Kigan cultivators of the Lin family also saw the 4th level spiritual tea, and naturally they were envious, but they dared not drink the 4th level spiritual tea. For Kigan cultivators to drink the 4th level spiritual tea, it would not improve their cultivation, but would lead to their own death. The huge spiritual energy was simply not something they could refine. Moreover, the top-grade Mingxin tea was already extremely precious, and the fragrance of the tea was still timeless and lingering. However, what everyone did not expect was that Lin Yi and Lin Haoxun also began to sit down, activating their skills, and began to circulate this Haoshan. You know, the Mingxin tea tree does not have such a great effect. Chapter 220 Gold Iron Crystal. Lin Shiming was also quite surprised to see Lin Yi and Lin Haoxun at this moment. In fact, in his heart, he had some guesses about Lin Yi's behavior. The changes in the Mingxin tea tree were obviously due to observing the golden thunder bamboo. But what he didn't expect was that Lin Haoxun was also like this. You know, he was at the peak of the 9th level of key training, but because of the failure of breaking through the foundation building, he was left with a lot of sequelae. Now looking at his excited and solemn expression, it is obvious that his injuries have improved a lot. After a long time, Lin Yi woke up first. At this time, he was full of excitement. Grandpa, Patriarch, this spiritual tea also contains a trace of thunder attribute aura, which is of great help to me. If it helps a lot, you can drink a few more cups, and I will put some in the treasure house in the future. Lin Shiming said, and at the same time he also observed that Lin Yi had just broken through the 8th level of key training, and his aura was not so stable. At this moment, it was completely stabilized, and the effect was obviously not small. He would keep some of these spiritual teas of the Mingxin Tea King, but he would put more of them in the family treasure house. For some family cultivators to exchange for contribution points, there will be more and more family cultivators. It is impossible for him to give gifts to every family cultivator in need. The second one to wake up was Lin Haoxun. He was very excited at this moment. Master, this spiritual tea can repair the injuries after breaking through the foundation building, and the effect is no worse than the 2nd level top-grade elixir. With a spiritual tea, I am sure to break through the foundation building again. It seems that this spiritual tea is really extraordinary. Lin Shiming also nodded, and then poured another cup for Lin Haoxun, and then poured another cup for Lin Yi. Although the others also had their cultivation increased, the effect was obviously not as good as Lin Yi and Lin Haoxun. After another 2 or 3 hours, Lin Shiji and Lin Haoyong woke up almost at the same time. Both of them were extremely happy, especially the former. Lin Shiji has also begun to condense his true essence. He is confident that he can break through the middle stage of foundation building in 5 to 10 years. He is only 50 or 60 years old now, which means that he still has a full 190 years to break through the Purple Mansion. Lin Haoyong was slower, but if he could completely refine it, he would be able to see the threshold of refining the true essence. He should have a chance to break through in the next 20 or 30 years. Although the time is still far away, you know, before that, he would even feel that he would stay in the early stage of foundation building for his whole life. Thank you, Patriarch. Both of them saluted. This 4th level spiritual tea must be extremely precious to Lin Shiming. Such a favor can be said to be great. Brother, 5th uncle is too polite. Lin Shiming continued to smile. When Lin Shiming was young, these two took great care of him. The eldest brother was the one who cared most about others among the generation with the character Shi, and although 5th uncle was a foundation building seed like his father at that time, he also took good care of him. After drinking the spiritual tea, Lin Shiming then asked the two about the family's situation in the past 10 years. In the past 10 years, the Xingxin market has stopped, and the caravan has also stopped. Only the Qinghai market is still selling some spiritual tools and elixirs. As a result, the family has received very little spiritual stones in the past 10 years, but a lot of spiritual peach wine and spiritual fish have been distributed, so that the cultivation progress of the family cultivators has not fallen behind. At the same time, the Immortal Ascension Conference was held as usual. In the past 10 years, The Lin family has successfully arranged for mortals to relocate to Lingnan County. After intermarriage, they can also select children with spiritual roots. There are more than 100 people of this generation at this time, including 2 with double spiritual roots, 10 with 3 spiritual roots, and the rest are 4 or 5 spiritual roots. As expected, the double spiritual root geniuses and 3 spiritual root children are mostly born to family cultivators, which has also benefited from the family's birth incentive policy. Of course, the past 10 years have not been particularly peaceful. After 2 years of fighting, some casual cultivators who were hiding began to cause chaos in Yunzhou. The sect's conscription will recruit most of the foundation-building cultivators. Some foundation-building families with only one foundation-building cultivator must build a foundation to go to war. Those casual cultivators obviously thought that the Lin family had no foundation-building cultivators, and even if they did, they would stay in Fangmu Mountain. They thought about making a fortune in Nanling Mountain and then fleeing from Zhao State. 7 or 8 key training 9th level masters, after shouting at the 7 evils, attacked the mountain protection formation of Nanling Mountain, and were naturally killed on the spot by Lin Shiji in the end. A few days later, deep in the mine, with a whooshing sound, several huge and round yellow spirit rats suddenly drilled into the mine. They sniffed everywhere with their noses twitching. After seeing that there was no special smell, they suddenly bit the gold iron stone in the mine next to them. The sound of crunching was heard, and it kept echoing in the mine. In the blink of an eye, several pieces of second-level top-grade gold iron stone were completely devoured. And the next moment, a larger gold-eating rat rushed out of the cave. The yellow color of his whole body had turned into gold, his nose was bigger, and his teeth were 3 inches long. The spiritual power on his body was like a third-level existence. With the appearance of the third-level gold-eating rat, more than 20 gold-eating rats crawled out of the cave and began to frantically gnaw on the gold iron stone in the mine. On the contrary, the third-level gold-eating rat was lying quietly, with its pointed ears pressed against the ground. With another rustling sound, 2 huge gold-eating rats crawled out again. These 2 were as big as the previous one. They jumped to the ground and began to dig towards the mine. The digging sound was even louder, and at this time, a golden figure that almost filled the entire rat hole appeared in the rat hole. It was the third-level gold-eating rat king. As soon as it landed, it also started to dig deep into the mine hole like the 2 gold-eating rats just now. They turned a deaf ear to those second-level gold, iron and stone. What they didn't know was that in a concealment formation next to them, Lin Shiming was hiding alone in the Kinglian Taoist robe. From Lin Yi and others, they learned that ordinary concealment formations could not block the nose of the gold-eating rat, which was why Lin Yi and others could not do anything about it. However, at this moment, Lin Shiming was wearing the Kinglian Taoist robe in the concealment formation, and he was obviously hiding successfully. At this moment, he did not do anything, but watched the 3 third-level gold-eating rats digging the soil. Soon, he felt his eyes light up, and a ball of pure iron stone appeared in his sight. Sure enough, Lin Shiming was secretly excited. The iron stone in front of him was like a crystal shape of a spiritual stone, which was a higher version of the second-level gold iron stone, the third-level gold iron crystal. As soon as the third-level gold iron crystal appeared, the largest gold-eating rat king also began to gnaw it, making a crunching sound. The other 2 third-level gold-eating rats continued to dig. However, the next moment, a shocking drum sounded, and all the spirit rats were stunned by the shocking drum, especially the gold-eating rat that was close to the ground, and golden blood flowed from its ears. On the contrary, the third-level rat king was fine, but the next moment, a large black millstone was grinding again, and Lin Shiming's god-splitting blade completely stopped the third-level rat king. And the next moment, a full 36 top-grade formation swords flew out. Kill out 4 level 3 gold-eating rats on the spot. Sorry, everyone worked overtime yesterday and it was very late. I have only posted it now. I will try to update 1 chapter tonight. Chapter 221 Map Clues. As the movement of Lin Shiming spread, Lin Yi and Lin Haoyong, who had been prepared outside, also rushed out quickly. Behind them were the key training monks of the Lin family. The ambush and pursuit were designed long ago. However, what caught their eyes was not the duel between Lin Shiming and the gold-eating rat. Instead, it was the corpses of 4 third-level gold-eating rats, as well as the second-level gold-eating rats that were wailing all over the ground and bleeding from their ears. And Lin Shiming just took back the magic weapon. Lin Shiji and Lin Haoyong's inner understanding of Lin Shiming's strength rose to a higher level again. They had encountered these third-level gold-eating rats before, and had fought them several times, but they could not kill these gold-eating rats. However, the gold-eating rats lacked means of attack and could not cause any harm to them. But they could not stop the gold-eating rats from escaping. From the time Lin Shiming launched the attack to the time they arrived and killed the 4 rats with thunderous means, it took less than 5 breaths at most. I am afraid that ordinary late-stage foundation building monks cannot do this kind of strength. At this moment, Lin Shiji and Lin Haoyong had to take some time off to cut off the heads of the second-level gold-eating rats whose eardrums were broken. Lin Shiming walked to the depths of the mine, and at this moment, there was still half a piece of gold iron crystal on the ground. The huge tooth marks were still clearly branded on it, revealing the golden crystal iron inside. The gold iron crystal was extremely gorgeous, and the appearance looked like a piece of red iron, but it was more crystal, more transparent, and very beautiful. Of course, the more precious gold iron crystal is to increase the hardness of the magic weapon, and its price is also extremely expensive among all the cultivation materials. A piece of second-level gold iron stone is about 100 spirit stones, and the price of this third-level gold iron crystal has directly increased by more than 10 times, and it takes 1,000 spirit stones to buy one piece. If you add a little other materials, even refining a third-level medium-quality magic weapon will not be a problem at all. At this moment, Lin Shiji and Lin Haoyong also looked over, and the gorgeous appearance of the gold iron crystal also shocked him. The two took the gold iron crystal and observed it for a while, and then looked into the depths of the mine. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. This gold iron stone vein is not small, but he doesn't know whether the gold iron crystal is an exception or a vein. But the latter is obviously more likely, otherwise the third-level gold-eating rat would not appear. And with the value of gold iron crystal, 10 pieces can bring a profit of 10,000 spirit stones. Even a micro gold iron crystal vein can greatly improve the finances of the Lin family. At that time, let alone supporting 10 foundation building monks, even if it becomes a purple mansion family, it will not be a problem to support a purple mansion monk for cultivation. Lin Shiming looked at this oil here, but what made him shake his head was that this oil here was harder, and it was probably impossible for the cultivators in the early stage of key training to mine it. At that time, it would require cultivators in the middle stage of key training to mine it, and many of the cultivators in the family had died because of the war. As for the cultivators of this generation, most of them were still in the early stage of key training at this moment. As for those with good talents, it was impossible to arrange them to mine. As for the independent cultivators, it was even more impossible for the Lin family to arrange them. If it was leaked out, if the gold iron crystal content was not small, it was possible that the purple mansion cultivators would be tempted. Lin Shiji and Lin Haoyong also squatted down and broke the soil, frowning. Mining such solid soil is a big problem. The cultivators in the early stage of key training cannot mine it, and the cultivators in the middle stage will be very slow. As for the cultivators in the late stage of key training, they will be fast. But how could the Lin family allow cultivators in the late stage of key training or foundation building to mine here? Fifth uncle, if I had known this, I would not have killed those second-level gold-eating rats just now. Lin Shiji said involuntarily. Even if those spirit rats are controlled, the chance of stealing is still very high. They are not young rats. Lin Haoyong shook his head. Even if those demon rats are not injured, they cannot be used to control mining. This is also the reason why Lin Shiming's shucking god drum and grinding god plate did not avoid these young rats. Everyone has a soil escape talisman. The next moment, Lin Shiming also thought of the gold-eating rat. When the Lin family conquered Teoho Valley, they harvested a lot of key training demon monkeys. The Shi and Hao generations of the Lin family had a lot of yellow-haired demon monkey spirit beasts. At this moment, there will naturally be gold-eating rat cubs in the group of gold-eating rats. Adult gold-eating rats will steal food, but cubs can be cultivated. All of them. The eyes of all the monks of the Lin family lit up at this moment. The spiritual consciousness here will be suppressed, but they can still find it with the earth escape talisman. Everyone search along the ore vein for 100 miles, the gold-eating rat cubs must not be far away. Lin Shiming said. Then the key training monks divided into 2 groups, Lin Shiming, Lin Haoyong and Lin Shiji each in a group. They fled in a circle. Soon, Lin Shiming and others also found a rat hole about 5,000 meters away from the ore vein. The rat hole was obviously opened up in the past few years. It was not very big, but there were many cave entrances. Most of them were fake caves leading to death. Just looking at the many gold, iron and stone residues along the way, they soon found the real cave. In a place where a yellow withered spiritual grass was spread, more than a dozen cubs were gnawing on gold, iron and stone. There were 2 yellow gold-eating rats at the entrance of the cave, baring their teeth at Lin Shiming and constantly warning him. They were killed by Lin Shiming on the spot. The remaining dozen gold-eating rat cubs were all taken away. Then the group continued to return to Shilin Cave. With a dozen cubs in front of them, they naturally had to choose the corresponding mining monks to establish a blood contract and raise these gold-eating rats. At the same time, they also had to arrange the future defense of Shilin Cave. The original formation was naturally no longer effective, and they had to replace it with a more powerful third-level mountain protection formation. "Fifth uncle, you can distribute these gold-eating rats," Lin Shiming said to Lin Haoyong. After finding the third-level gold iron crystal, Shilin Cave must also have foundation-building monks stationed. The places where the Lin family needs to be stationed are all stationed by foundation-building monks in turn, with a term of 10 years. At present, the only foundation-building monks in the Lin family who can be stationed everywhere are Lin Haoyan, Lin Haoyong, and Lin Shiji. Lin Haoyan had just returned from Zhao State and needed to break through the middle stage of foundation building. Lin Shiji was also about to break through and had been in Lingnan County for more than 10 years. The Lin family is in charge of 2 places, Zixin Fangxi and Nanling Mountain, and now there is a Shilin Cave. Don't worry. Lin Haoyan nodded. He was in charge of the mine from the beginning, and he was more suitable for the arrangement of the spirit rats. When the second uncle and Lin Shi Hawaii break through, they can come to replace you. Lin Shiming spoke again. This made Lin Haoyong confused, and Lin Shiji beside him was also full of doubts. It was normal for Lin Shi and Lin Haoyi to break through, but Lin Haoxiao was over 60 years old. Lin Shiming could only tell the story of the dragon blood pill one by one. After he finished speaking, the 2 of them were surprised and sighed. "By the way, fifth uncle, big brother, have you seen the location of this map?" After some arrangements, Lin Shiming also took out the map he got that day. When the map came out, Lin Shiji was a little surprised. This map was a bit casual. However, Lin Haoyong's face changed. "I have seen it, and I still remember this place." Chapter 222, Poisonous Swamp. Shi Ming couldn't help but feel happy. He didn't expect that just by trying it casually, Lin Haoyong actually knew this place. It's about 100 miles from King Shilin to the depths of Qingayan mountain range. Lin Haoyong said, but after he finished speaking, he said with some worry, "However, there's a poisonous insect valley over there, with countless poisonous insects. I only went there when I was chasing a third-level demon python, but there were too many poisonous insects over there, so I had to give up and leave." After Lin Haoyong finished speaking, he looked at the map again. He was obviously still frightened by the power of poisonous insects, and he also had doubts about this map. If it was an ancient cultivator's cave, the map notes of the ancient cultivator would be extremely regular, and every horizontal and stroke would reveal maturity and grandeur. Even a more precious map would be engraved more standardized. After all, if the map is slightly deviated, it would be 1,000 miles away from the actual situation. So according to this map, even in that poisonous valley, the deviation may be very large. Yet, I'll contact my 7th uncle and explore together. Lin Shiming pondered for a while and decided to explore. This is the cave map prompted by the system, which should not be too bad. If it is the cave of a purple mansion cultivator again, the harvest should not be small. As for the danger, according to Lin Haoyong's description, that location is far from the inner circle of the Qingayan Mountains, and the probability of the appearance of a purple mansion monster is not high, and the ordinary third-level foundation-building monster beast is still not very deterrent to him. Lin Haoyong was able to explore and escape unscathed, so the danger is at least within the controllable range. He called his 7th uncle Lin Xianzi, and the danger was not great. Lin Shiming made a decision and set off immediately. On the contrary, Lin Yuqing and Lin Shili, who came to kill the gold-eating rat together, did not leave. The third-level gold iron crystal appeared in the gold iron stone vein, so it was naturally necessary to have more people to watch over it, otherwise monsters like the gold-eating rat would appear again and steal the gold iron crystal. Even if it was a piece, it would be a loss of thousands of spirit stones. Somewhere in the Qinghai Mountains, a spirit boat landed along the jungle. A group of cultivators fell from the sky. 7th Uncle, Master, the location on the map is this valley. Lin Yi walked in front and turned back to say affirmatively. This group of cultivators are the cultivators of the Lin family. There are not many people who came to explore this time. The foundation building cultivators are Lin Yi, Lin Shiming and Lin Haoyong, and the key training cultivators are Lin Yuking, Lin Haoxun and Lin Shiyan. Lin Shiyan has also broken through the 8th level of key training at this moment, and he is good at formations, so he also joined this exploration. Lin Shiming nodded, and saw a valley filled with miasma appeared in front of them. There were very few vegetation within 100 meters around the valley, and the visibility inside the valley was extremely low. The survey of the divine consciousness was also greatly affected, at least the range that could be surveyed was reduced by half. Everyone, take the Mingzhao pill. Lin Shiming took out several pill bottles and gave one to each person. This Mingzhao pill is a 3rd-level detoxification pill, which is the latest pill recipe obtained by the Lin family and was refined by Lin Haoxun. After each person took a pill, Lin Shiyan also began to take out the array plate. This array plate was a 3rd-level array, and it was the array within the array that Lin Haoxiao had studied. It was an illusion array and a trap array. It was quite powerful, but Lin Shiyan's power could not arrange it. Many spiritual spells had to rely on Lin Yi and Lin Shiming to cast. Because Lin Yi and Lin Shiming did not understand the mystery, they could only cast the spiritual spells one by one rigidly, and finally arranged it for most of the day. With a burst of spiritual light, the array finally took shape, forming a spiritual cover, and finally dimmed and disappeared. Once the array was completed, everyone in the Lin family felt relieved. At least if there was danger, they were not unprepared. Once the array was completed, Lin Shiming took out a storage bag, and saw 2 spirit corpses appear. These 2 spirit corpses were the 2 life spirit corpses obtained by killing the monks of the corpse training sect in Yunjing Mountain. After Lin Shiming returned to Fangmu Mountain, he learned simple corpse control techniques and could control the simple actions of the 2 corpses. The strength he exerted was only at the initial stage of foundation building. Of course, the simple corpse control technique to control the 3rd-level spirit corpse has a fatal side effect. The corpse control technique must be used at all times, and the consciousness cannot be relaxed for a moment. Otherwise, the 2 spirit corpses will act on their own, and there is a great possibility that the spirit corpse will devour the master. The most suitable thing is to find a family cultivator who specializes in corpse training techniques, and then sacrifice these 2 spirit corpses. But at the moment, it is just right to explore the Poison Valley. The spirit corpses are a spirit leopard training corpse and a green-haired spirit zombie. When they first appeared, they seemed a little stunned. In the heavenly demon bag, the 2 spirit corpses were beaten by the strong wind for several years. Now that they came out, they were really a little uncomfortable. However, under the control of Lin Shiming, they immediately restored their fierce eyes, and the fangs in their mouths emitted bursts of cold light. They howled fiercely and rushed towards the Poison Valley first. Lin Shiming and others quickly followed. As soon as they entered the Poison Valley, even though they took the Mingzhao pill, they still felt a little dizzy at this moment. Finally, they controlled the spiritual light and formed a spirit shield, which completely relieved them. Lin Shiming was at the front, the 3 Kigan monks were in the middle, and Lin Yi and Lin Haoyong were at the back. The 2 spirit corpses were naturally charging forward, and soon, one after another colorful pythons appeared in the poisonous miasma, biting the 2 spirit corpses. The green-haired zombie and the spirit leopard spirit corpses were not inferior at all, biting back. The ordinary 2nd-level poisonous snakes and scorpions were stuffed into the mouths of the 2 corpses in the blink of an eye. They gnawed at random, and of course they did not stop. Lin Shiming's spiritual consciousness was also looking around at any time. Whenever there was a purple mansion monster, he would control the 2 spirit corpses to go crazy and attack the purple mansion monster, and then immediately use the earth escape talisman to escape. After the spiritual consciousness spread over half of the poisonous valley, Lin Shiming and Lin Yi looked at each other, and their hearts became a little more stable. Now there was no movement, which also meant that there was no purple mansion monster. The 2 spirit corpses were still moving forward, and Lin Yi and Lin Shiming's spiritual consciousness was also open to the maximum, not daring to slack off. Finally, the 2 of them focused their sights on a poisonous fog swamp in the center. Lin Shiming was even more surprised to find wild poisonous dragon vines. These poisonous dragon vines were almost the same as the ones he bought in Jiwai City, and there were also a lot of seeds. If it were normal, he would naturally be very happy, but in this poisonous valley, his mood was quite bad. Seventh uncle, there may be trouble. Lin Shiming could not help but transmit the sound, and also control the spirit corpse to stop, and was ready to retreat at any time. Finding poisonous dragon vines is not good news. If there is a poisonous dragon hidden in this swamp, even if it is a third-level late-stage poisonous dragon, they may not be opponents if it has not reached the Purple Mansion level. The combat power of the poisonous dragon is one of the best among the monsters, and the cultivators of the same level are not its opponents at all, let alone in this highly poisonous swamp. That should be the cultivator's cave. Lin Yi also frowned, and was very afraid of the poisonous dragon. However, within the range of his spiritual sense, he found a cave in a small hill next to the swamp, and the cave was covered with formations. It is obviously a cultivator's cave, but when the Lin family members used their spiritual sense to scan the cave, there was no movement. It should be an empty cave. Period. Please help add the book list if you have a family book list. Thank you. Chapter 223, Poisonous Horned Python. The Lin family was all a little nervous at this moment. The cultivator's cave was right in front of them, but they could see it but didn't dare to take it. They hesitated and felt a pity. Lin Shiming raised his hands and made a gesture to retreat. Facing a poisonous dragon, even if it was a newborn poisonous dragon, they couldn't resist it. What's more, there were so many demon kings in Kingayan mountain range. If this poisonous dragon was the offspring of that demon king, the whole Yuntao couldn't bear that kind of anger. Lin Yi also nodded. Although the group didn't say anything, they were very tacitly ready to retreat. As for the two spirit zombies, even though they were suppressed by Lin Shiming's corpse control technique, they were obviously full of resistance and unwilling. But at this time, Lin Shiming would not care about him. If the two spirit zombies could not be used, they would naturally be drowned by the anger of the poisonous dragon. Please kill the poisonous horned python, and you will get a snake egg with a certain chance of turning into a dragon. However, at this moment, the system prompt appeared, which made Lin Shiming stunned. In the system prompt, there was no poisonous dragon, but a horned python. Although both horned pythons and poisonous dragons have horns, the difference between them is huge. Even if there are more than a dozen third-level horned pythons, they are no match for a poisonous dragon, and the harvest is not to mention the snake eggs that have the possibility of turning into a dragon. You know, Lin Shiming has a secret method of blood return. If he can get some dragon blood, or some more powerful python blood, he may be able to turn the snake into a dragon. Having a dragon spirit beast will definitely be smoother for his cultivation and future battles. A normal adult spirit dragon is at least a purple mansion existence, and even if the blood is a little stronger, it is a golden elixir demon king. Seventh uncle, the two spirit zombies have such a big motive, and the poisonous dragon has not appeared. Is there any other hidden reason? Lin Shiming asked the seventh uncle in a voice transmission. At this moment, the seventh uncle's expression also changed a little. What Lin Shiming said is not without reason. Powerful monsters attach great importance to their territory. Not to mention being invaded by human cultivators, even if a fellow enters for no reason, they will fight to the death. Of course, Lin Yi thought so, but he was still hesitant. It is not worth taking risks in a cave where no one knows what is inside. The Lin family now not only has a third-grade superior spiritual vein, but also a third-grade gold and iron crystal vein. The family's geniuses are also more prosperous from generation to generation. There is no need to take this risk. Seeing this, Lin Shiming also understood the worry of his seventh uncle. But he could not tell the hint. The Lin family was still retreating, and Lin Shiming was no exception. Not good, seventh uncle. The corpse control technique is out of control. Lin Shiming suddenly opened his mouth, his eyes were somewhat shocked, and the spiritual spells in his hands kept hitting. But it still did not help. The two spirit zombies rushed towards the swamp as if they were stimulated, and began to tear the poisonous dragon vines violently. Retreat quickly. The seventh uncle shouted. The crowd no longer cared about anything else. At this time, there was a loud bang in the swamp, and a huge monster suddenly stretched out, and its huge head bit towards the two spirit zombies. Boom. The green-haired zombie was bitten and made a crackling sound. If it were an ordinary cultivator, he might have died on the spot, But the green-haired zombie's physical strength was a third-level middle grade 1, equivalent to physical cultivator in the middle stage of foundation building. It was just that Lin Shiming's corpse control technique could not bring out its physical strength. The spirit leopard spirit zombie was thrown away by the giant's tail and flew dozens of meters away. Seventh uncle, it's not a poisonous dragon, it's a third-level late-stage horned python that is pretending to be powerful, Lin Shiming said excitedly. At this moment, the seventh uncle and others also saw the figure of the beast. It was an extremely huge and extremely poisonous horned python. Countless venom flowed on the surface of the horned python, which looked like layers of scales. There were no claws under its belly. There was a bulge on the head of the horned python, as if it could be spit out at any time. The huge python mouth only had 2 huge snake teeth. Everyone in the Lin family stopped immediately. The 2 spirit zombies were beaten by the horned python in a few seconds, and their fierce power was greatly dissipated. Seventh uncle, you can give it a try, Lin Shiming shouted loudly. Then the grinding god plate in his hand flew out, turned into a huge hill, and crushed towards the poisonous horned python. The horned python screamed in anger, opened its mouth, and suddenly a black water column spurted out and rushed towards the grinding god plate. The water column was extremely poisonous, and the air suddenly began to sizzle, as if the air was corroded. The impact on the grinding god plate also began to corrode the spiritual light of the grinding god plate. However, the grinding god plate still went towards the poisonous horned python. Lin Shiming felt heartbroken when he saw it. This grinding god plate was one of the best, even among the third-level top-grade magic tools. Lin Shiming once again released a full 36 flying swords, which turned into 4 small purple-wood Zuanshan sword formations and slashed towards the poisonous horned python. On the other side, Lin Xianxi also drew his sword at this moment, and the blue lotus sword light was extremely rich, turning into a bunch of sharp blue-gold sword lotuses, and slashed fiercely. The poisonous horned python roared again, and then its huge tail swung violently in the swamp, and countless poisonous mud flew out, covering the sky and heading towards Jianlian. For a while, the horned python fought with Lin Xianxi and Lin Shiming. Lin Haoyong and others beside him suddenly laughed bitterly. They found that they could not intervene in the fight between the 2 people. They could only throw out a series of spiritual talismans, which more or less caused some trouble to the horned python. However, at some point, some spiritual snakes appeared in the swamp again. Several people began to control the magic tools and fought with those third-level and second-level poisonous snakes. Seventh uncle, the strength of this horned python seems to have been affected by something else. Lin Shiming spoke again. Of course, he knew in his heart that this horned python should have just laid snake eggs and its strength was not at its peak, but he could not tell this to his seventh uncle. That's right, Shiming, I will contain it, and you can give him a fatal blow. Lin Xianxi nodded, with some excitement in his eyes. Although this horned python is not a dragon, it can be considered half a dragon. The venom on its body flows like a dragon, and it has horns and meat bags under its belly. Of course, although this horned python is only a few steps away from a dragon, the gap is like a natural moat. After saying that, Lin Xianxi pointed his sword again, and 2 top-grade magic swords flew out. The rich sword light intertwined into a dense sword net, making the poisonous horned python simply unstoppable. The horned python roared again, and countless venom sprayed out. It wanted to spray the sword net to pieces, but as soon as the sword net opened, it was greeted by a huge grinding god plate. And the shocking god drum, double spiritual attack, plus the cracking god blade. The poisonous horned python roared in pain. The body kept rolling in the swamp, rolling out a monstrous poisonous wolf. Lin Xianxi and Lin Shiming reported at the same time. At this moment, the spiritual shields around them were all corroded. They had to take out several Mingzhao pills again and activate the inner armor to resist the poison. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224, Snake Eggs with the Potential to Transform into Dragons. After the poison wave passed, the poisonous horned python also broke free from the sword net in the grinding god plate. With a flick of its tail, it even slapped Lin Shiming's 4 sword arrays into ray swords, and the spiritual light dissipated a lot. The poisonous horned python roared again, and the next moment, The horned python surprisingly drilled into the swamp. "Where are you running?" Lin Shiming also shouted loudly. He naturally would not let the horned python run away. The suppression of them in the swamp was even greater. In Lin Shiming's hand, a sky demon bag released a violent gale and sucked it towards the poisonous horned python. At the same time, a golden light flew out from the void, and the next moment, 2 golden sickle feet stretched out and chopped towards the 7 inches of the horned python. The golden sickle swung very quickly, with a dazzling and incomparable aura. It was the golden winged mantis that flew in. It was just that the poisonous fog was diffused, and the hiding was not close, but fortunately the golden winged mantis had 6 wings and its strength had reached the middle stage of the 3rd level. However, the horned python's body was more flexible. As it tumbled, the aura of its bulge began to gather and formed a beam of aura, which fiercely struck the golden winged mantis's lower legs. With a loud bang, the golden winged mantis was directly knocked out. Its 6 wings continued to flap, but it still could not stop its momentum. In addition, the 2 lower legs of the golden winged mantis began to be filled with black light, and it was seriously injured. The eyes of the poisonous horned python could not help but dim, and the aura of its whole body seemed to dim a little at that moment. The attack that controlled the bulge on its head obviously consumed a lot of it. During this pause, Lin Shiming also rushed to the front and threw the grinding god in his hand towards the poisonous horned python. Not counting his mid-stage foundation building cultivation, he was still a foundation building body cultivator. The grinding god plate smashed down, and the poisonous horned python had to stop immediately, and its tail slammed towards the grinding god. The grinding god plate flew away, and the poisonous horned python's tailbone seemed to be broken, and it roared in pain. The sword lotus appeared again and turned into a sword net. At this moment, Lin Shiming suddenly flew out a purple spiritual sword. Like a blade of sword grass, it slashed in midair. At this moment, the poisonous horned python was extremely uneasy and wanted to hide, but it was entangled by the sword net. The purple sword that flew out like a blade of sword grass was even faster and terrifying. The next moment, a bright sword light was stimulated. The entire swamp was cut open as if by a giant sword, and a huge crack appeared. The poisonous horned python was now split in 2. Shiming, not bad. Lin Yi looked at Lin Shiming when he saw the death of the horned python. He immediately understood that this was the grass sword formula that Lin Shiming had realized on the Enlightenment platform. While he was amazed, he was also happy for Lin Shiming in his heart. He even felt that he could not resist Lin Shiming's sword. The momentum of the sky slashing was too terrifying. At this moment, Lin Shiming was breathing heavily. This was the first time he used the grass sword technique. However, he found with a wry smile that his grass sword technique relied on the sword grass in his body. It was powerful, even more powerful than Lin Yi's sword-like transformation. But it also consumed a lot of energy. He looked inside his body, and the sword grass seemed extremely weak. It was obvious that he could not swing a sword again in a short time. However, the result was still very good. The death of the poisonous horned python also meant that he could harvest snake eggs that could possibly transform into dragons, as well as unknown monks' caves. He was looking forward to it very much. While Lin Shiming paused, Lin Yi also went to help Lin Haoyong and others to kill all the remaining spirit snakes in the entire poisonous valley. And Lin Shiming also collected the corpse of the horned python. With the form of this horned python, it might be considered a dragon beast, but it was not known whether this poison could be used to refine dragon blood pills. But its materials were definitely extremely precious. After the poisonous horned python was put away, Lin Xian also began to set up the formation. Since the poison valley was completely cleared, they naturally had to set up the formation. First, the isolation formation was set up to isolate the divine consciousness from investigating. In addition, the bloody aura here had to be isolated to prevent other monsters from rushing in. Lin Shiming even went around the poison valley in person and transplanted a lot of poisonous dragon vines. It was not clear whether the poisonous dragon vines could survive, but in a short period of time, any monster would be afraid. After planting the poisonous dragon vines, Lin Shiming returned to the swamp and put away the 2 spirit zombies that had lost their spiritual light. The 2 spirit zombies were seriously injured and their spiritual energy was greatly damaged. Later, they might only be able to recover the strength of the initial 3rd level. However, Lin Shiming did not care. He planned to give these 2 spirit zombies to the family. They were weaker in strength and less fierce. Finally, Lin Shiming put away the golden winged mantis again. This time, the golden-winged mantis was seriously injured. Lin Shiming first used spiritual water to wash away the venom, and then gave the golden-winged mantis a large amount of healing and detoxification pills, and finally took out a handful of lotus seeds and fed it. These lotus seeds were produced by the King Lin of the Lin family. In recent years, as the Fangmu Mountain spiritual vein has become a third-grade upper-grade spiritual vein, even the effect of the King Lin has become much greater. After the golden-winged mantis took the lotus seeds, its injuries obviously improved a lot. Lin Shiming took it into the cave world and let it continue to recover. After all this was done, Lin Shiming also came to Lin Xianxi and others. At this time, several people looked at the cultivator's cave with burning eyes. After the formation was arranged, the things in the cave were more attractive to the Lin family. Seventh uncle, this horned python should also have good things. I will go explore the swamp first. But at this moment, Lin Shiming walked to the front of the swamp. When the rest of the Lin family heard this, they followed and walked out. At this moment, the swamp has changed a lot. The grass sword technique divided the swamp into two swamps, with a huge crack in the middle. There is still a lot of sword energy in the crack at this moment. Everyone couldn't help but take a breath again, and the look in their eyes when looking at Lin Shiming changed again. For this rising star of the Lin family, they couldn't see how evil he was at this moment. The two spirit beasts were so powerful, their cultivation talents were faster than those of the dual spirit roots, and their combat power was terrifyingly superior. Even their physical cultivation was the undisputed #1 in the Lin family. And all these changes happened in just 30 years. Lin Shiming didn't look at the eyes of the other members of the Lin family at this moment. At this moment, his attention was all on the swamp. His spiritual sense was not weak, and he had detected the entire swamp. There were no other spirit beasts in the swamp, and the previous horned python was not allowed. In the depths of the swamp, there was a huge hole. There was a natural barrier at the entrance of the hole, and the poisonous water in the swamp could not flow in. In the entrance of the hole, Lin Shiming also found a nest. There were a lot of dragon blood grass growing in it. This made Lin Shiming very happy again. The saying that the poisonous horned python became a half-dragon beast also made sense again. Next to the dragon blood grass, there seemed to be a snake egg the size of a wash basin. Lin Shiming's spiritual sense covered it, but to his surprise, a burst of mental power suddenly surged out of the snake egg and rushed towards his mental power. The mental power was not strong, but extremely fierce, as if telling him to get out. Chapter 225 Mysterious Teleportation Array. Lin Shiming's interest increased greatly. This was the first time he had seen such a spiritual egg. At the side, Lin Xianxi's spiritual consciousness also seemed to have discovered the existence of the snake egg, and his face was full of joy. However, he did not move. In his opinion, whether it was considered as credit or potential, it would be better to give these things to Lin Shiming. Shiming, take those things back. Lin Xianxi said. Lin Shiming did not hesitate, opened the spiritual cover, and then turned into a beam of light, heading deep into the swamp. Soon he arrived at the cave and saw the giant egg. The giant egg still transmitted the spiritual fluctuations of resistance, but Lin Shiming would not indulge him at this moment. With a wave of his hand, he put the snake egg into the cave world. He also carefully transplanted the dragon blood grass one by one, half of which was put into the jade box for safekeeping, and the other half was planted in some spiritual soil in the cave world, and the snake egg was also placed next to the dragon blood grass. In the past, there was no dragon vein breath, so planting dragon blood grass was naturally just a fantasy. But this snake egg, it was obvious that it was reverting to its ancestor, and had some dragon blood, so planting dragon blood grass should be no problem. While Lin Shiming was planting grass, the red-haired demon monkey jumped over at this moment, and even saw the snake egg and wanted to use his arm to dig it out. After being glared at and severely warned by Lin Shiming, it scratched its head and ran to the side. After the spirit egg was arranged, Lin Shiming arranged a spirit formation. This spirit formation was more complicated than the formation of Lin Shiming's spirit mantis. He found it in the detailed explanation of the introduction to beast control in the spirit beast sect. It could also speed up the catalysis of the spirit egg, but at the same time, it also required a lot of third-level spirit water. While Lin Shiming poured in the spirit water, he took out 3 high-quality spirit stones and put them aside. After that, Lin Shiming forced a blood contract to condense. Since this snake egg already had some consciousness, Lin Shiming would not wait until it broke out of the shell to arrange the spirit contract. If the snake has already become a great beast by then the gain will be greater than the loss. The spiritual contract also adopted the more domineering spiritual contract in the detailed explanation of the beast control of the spirit beast sect. However, to his surprise, the snake egg began to gush out spiritual light, and actually forced his blood essence directly out, and the spiritual contract failed. Lin Shiming also had a headache. He was not unprepared for this phenomenon. In the detailed explanation of the beast control of the spirit beast sect, it was also recorded that some powerful spirit beasts were born with protective spiritual formations like family spirit books. If a blood contract is established, it cannot be a unilateral slave contract. You must know that the golden-winged mantis and the red-haired demon monkey are both slave contracts. The biggest advantage of the slave contract is that Lin Shiming can control the spirit beast to die for him, and the spirit beast cannot resist. If the cultivator dies, the spirit beast will also be counterattacked. But on the contrary, if the spirit beast dies, the cultivator will be fine. At the beginning, Lu Chengming used the slave contract to constantly control the spirit beast to block Chen Liumo for him. Lin Shiming shook his head, smiled bitterly, and continued to condense another spiritual contract. The binding force of this spiritual contract was much less. If the spirit beast resisted strongly and ignored the serious injury, it could break free from the spiritual contract. Of course, this spiritual contract could also restrain the spirit beast from having evil thoughts towards the cultivator. As for Lin Shiming, he had the cave world, so he was not afraid that the spirit beast would break free from the spiritual contract and run out of the cave world. However, in the future, he still needed to find a more powerful spiritual contract to consolidate the contract. This time, the spiritual contract went smoothly. Although the spirit egg still resisted, the strength of this spiritual contract was that it was moving slowly. After all, the snake egg was just a subconscious thought, and its thinking ability was seriously insufficient. It was soon found a loophole by the spiritual contract. With a burst of spiritual light, Lin Shiming and the snake egg also had a faint spiritual connection. What made him smile bitterly was that the snake egg immediately sent a spiritual consciousness fluctuation, and actually asked him to put more stones, which were top-grade spiritual stones. This spiritual consciousness fluctuation was obviously much larger than that of the golden-winged mantis and the red-haired demon monkey. This made him somewhat happy. This snake egg might have already become a half-dragon body, and it had a much higher starting point than its parent, the horned python. As a spiritual egg, it could absorb the spiritual energy of the top-grade spiritual stone. He had never heard of this before. As soon as the top-grade spiritual stone was released, the spiritual egg sent out the spiritual consciousness fluctuations again, which made Lin Shiming's face darken. However, after thinking about it, Lin Shiming did not make any other moves. He exited the cave world and returned to the snake cave under the swamp. What excited him was that there was a spiritual vein of the third order middle grade in this snake cave. When the time comes, he can inform his seventh uncle and move the spiritual vein away. Lin Shiming looked around again, and after making sure that nothing was missed, he flew out of the swamp and landed in front of the rest of the Lin family. Seventh uncle, I got a snake egg. This snake egg is useful to me, so I exchanged it with my family contribution points. Lin Shiming did not take out the dragon blood grass and the snake egg. The two are also very related. If others know that he has such an egg, it is possible that the Purple Mansion cultivators will take action. After all, the egg is in a state where even if there is a spiritual contract, a new spiritual contract can be established again. No problem. Lin Yi answered first. This time, whether it is the map or the effort, Lin Shiming is the biggest, so there is no problem, not to mention that Lin Shiming also exchanged it with contribution points. Of course, with Lin Shiming's current family contribution points, he has already had the most. What the Lin family cares more about is the cultivator's cave. That is what the Lin family is most looking forward to this trip. Shiming, let's go check the cave. Lin Yi spoke again. Lin Shiming also nodded, and then everyone went out to the cave. The original spiritual formation of the cave was obviously very old. Lin Shiyan quickly found the weak point of the formation, and Lin Shiming broke the formation with a sword. A 3-meter-high stone cave was revealed. The cave looked extremely old. Some simple murals carved on the walls were also something they had never seen before. Lin Shiming took out the red-haired demon monkey and let the demon monkey explore the way ahead. Then the group entered the depths of the cave. Is this a hall? After a while, Lin Yi and others reached the deepest part, but there was no inheritance or treasure as imagined. Instead, it was a hall built of unknown materials. The hall was now covered with a thick layer of dust. Lin Yi performed a wind-clearing spell to blow away the dust. This is a teleportation array. Lin Yi suddenly spoke. When he spoke, everyone in the Lin family looked at Lin Yi. The name of the teleportation array had been heard by all the cultivators in the Lin family, but they had never seen it. You know, even the Zhao kingdom did not have a teleportation array. First, the array material of the teleportation array, the Guangming crystal, could no longer be found, and second, the method of arranging the teleportation array had been lost. In the entire cultivation world, only the method of arranging the teleportation talisman was circulated, proving that there was once a teleportation array. Seventh uncle, there are several grooves here. Are they places to put spirit stones? Lin Yi walked to the stone platform on one side and asked. Lin Yi nodded, and then he took out a medium-grade spirit stone and put it into the groove. A burst of spiritual light flowed, but the next moment, the medium-grade spirit stone fell and it didn't work. Then Lin Yi took out a high-grade spirit stone, and the groove emitted a burst of blue light, making the whole hall gradually have a special light. However, because there were still 3 or 4 grooves without spirit stones, the transmission did not start. It will probably take 3 high-grade spirit stones to start. Lin Yi said. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.